interview. George. Oh, hey, don't hang up. Bye-bye.
Happy Father's Day, everybody, and welcome to a special edition of Interactive Wrestling Radio right here on WrestlingEpicenter.com and YouTube. Today we have a 2-for-1 special as we sit down for our exclusive interview with George the Animal Steele, the WWE Hall of Famer. Absolute honor for us to sit down with him, and he spent a half hour on the phone with us. Can't thank him enough for spending that much time with us. We think you guys are really going to enjoy this interview. After that, we sit down with Patrick Kelly. He joins us as we sit down and discuss TNA Slammiversary as well as the upcoming WWE Payback pay-per-view. And then, as a special bonus just for you guys as a Father's Day surprise, we have the Rampage Jackson Spike TV TNA teleconference in its entirety for you. So, 2 great sit-down interviews. 1 exclusive, 1 not exclusive, 2-for-1 special. Hope you guys enjoy. Check us out at WrestlingEpicenter.com. Buy something on the store. Great prices on some rare classic wrestling on DVD. Thanks again for choosing WrestlingEpicenter.com, and stay tuned for the interviews.
This is Bruno Sammartino, and you're listening to the Interactive Interview.
Interactive Wrestling. And welcome back to WrestlingEpicenter.com. Joining us on the Newsmaker line right now is a true honor for me to welcome. He is a Hall of Famer and truly one of the most colorful characters in the history of pro wrestling, somebody I'm honored to have on the show, the one and only George the Animal Steele. Mr. Steele, are you with us?
Hey, you.
I love it.
Do you want to talk to George or maybe Jim?
Let's talk to Jim. That would probably be the best way.
Hey, Jim. Hey, you. Yeah, hello.
Hello, Mr. Jim Myers is on the phone with us, the man behind the character of George the Animal Steele, and I will call it a character. I know you take offense to the phrase gimmick.
Exactly. It's 2 people using the same body. What can I say?
And we talked about that. And you wrote about that a lot in your book. The book is out now. The book is called Animal, and it's really a great read. The good folks sent me the book about, a month ago. I literally read it the next night after I got it, and it was an enjoyable read, and I'm glad to finally sit down and talk to you about it. How have you enjoyed the reaction so far to the book?
It's been unbelievable. I mean, we've been totally honest with it, and a lot of my shortcomings as a learning disability and all that nonsense, and then ending up teaching school and wrestling part-time for 25 years or so. Just really kind of blowing some people's minds. They never thought that George could talk.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I mean, my generation, I'm going to be 32 in September. I found it hard enough to believe that, prior to what I grew up watching you in the mid-'80s, that you were a bad guy prior to that. I find it hard to believe that, when I went back and watched tapes.
And did my own interviews.
Yeah, and you could cut promos that were quite eloquent.
I was articulate. What could I say?
Absolutely, and you're a very well-rounded character. And what can I say?
Bottom line is, I think what people need to understand is wrestling. I was not a wrestling guy. I was a football guy. I was not a football, and I was not a wrestling fan even. But I was making $4,300 a year teaching my first year out of Michigan State with 2 children and a third one on the way. I needed a part-time job, and wrestling stayed part-time with me, and from 1962 to 1986.
Wow.
I'd go back and teach. And
wow.
People said, well, how'd you come up with that character? I said, well, the kids drove me nuts.
Absolutely, yeah. It's got to warm your heart to reading the book that they've named the football field after you from where you taught.
That was really humbling. I coached and taught there for 25 years, and I had some great kids, but it was just totally unexpected and very humbling when that happened. And the timing was perfect. I was finishing up the book when they did that.
Absolutely, yeah, that was good timing. So the book has been really well received. I've read several reviews of it online, boning up for the interview, and I got to ask you, though, going through your whole life, because it's got to be a real painstaking process, how did you enjoy the process of getting in and thinking about all the things that have gone on in your life? Because the book is not just George the Animal Steele. The book is really your life. And wrestling's definitely a big part of it, but it's much more than just wrestling.
I'll tell you what, it was very educational, and for me, and you know, really added to my faith, to be honest with you, because you start looking at your life through a rearview mirror, and you know, and being in the wrestling world and a lot of the other parts of the world that I've been in, it's just I could see looking through that rearview mirror where God was touching my life way before I accepted Him as my personal Savior. So it was just, you know, it's like, wow, how did I survive this? Oh, it was somebody else. It wasn't me. Oh, how did God did this? Well, God, and it just kept coming up and coming up. It was overwhelming, to be honest with you.
Absolutely, and it comes through in the book, because you talk a little bit about your faith in the book as well, but it comes through in the book that, you know, how much you enjoy it and enjoyed the process. And, you know, the thing that I've talked to people about the book and said, it really reads almost like a conversation that one would have with you over a beer or over dinner, where you really are telling us about the great things that you've done. And it's not just, like I've said before, a lot of wrestling books just focus on, well, at WrestleMania 2 I did this, and instead of it being that, it really is the story of your life. Was that something you wanted to make sure you did, to talk about your life and not just make it a wrestling book?
Well, the important things to me, and the way I wanted the book to be presented, and I think it has been, is it's not just about wrestling. It's not just about teaching. It's about overcoming obstacles. I mean, I started off, you know, with dyslexia before they knew what it was. And so I'm a little kid, 8 years old, 9 years old, standing in front of a classroom where everybody's laughing at me because they can't read spot, run, spot. And then, you know, I try to make that pretty clear that was a learning disability, not necessarily part of my intellectual ability. But I didn't understand it for a long time myself. I thought I was just big, dumb, and stupid, go sit in the back of the room. But once I started learning a little bit more about learning disabilities, I found out that God, when He takes away something from you, He gives you another gift in another direction. And most people with dyslexia has great memories. I mean, it's just, you know, it's a gift that you have that go along with it. So at Michigan State, how did I get there when you couldn't read or write? Somebody figured out that I had a great mind, and so I took a lot of my tests orally, and because I had a great memory, I could zip through some classes pretty easily, really.
Right. Absolutely. I don't normally talk about myself during interviews, but me personally, I am legally blind, and I can tell you that from that disability, I've gotten the ability to write exceptionally well, and I think I'd like to pretend that I'm fairly articulate, I say as I stutter. But
I do that all the time, but let me tell you something. Einstein was dyslexia.
Wow.
He was a dyslexic man. Edison had his challenges. So a lot of judges, a lot of, you know, way out people have had different learning disabilities. Blindness is another one. I mean, golly, my heart goes out to you. I know that's tough, but you've found some gifts to overcome it.
Absolutely.
That's what's critical about it, I think.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, and you know, I'm not going to lie to you. I'm one of the lucky ones because that's what I say legally blind, because the only thing I can't do is drive. I can read, I can write, I can do all the other things. They won't let me drive, and to be honest, I wouldn't want to get behind the wheel anyway. So, for fear of hurting somebody else. But regardless, reading the book, when you did get into the wrestling portion of the book, something that I really enjoyed you talking about was into the era that I grew up with, which was the mid-'80s, and your things with Randy Savage and the love triangle as it was with, unfortunately, two folks who have left us, Randy and Elizabeth. You mentioned that a lot of what went on back then on screen was more ad-libbed than what we see today. Could you elaborate on that? How was that was the reactions more real, or how was that more ad-libbed?
What it was old school, quote, quote, old wrestler, that's me. New school, quote, quote, younger wrestler, that's Randy Savage. In my era, the way I was taught the business was our wrestling business, you always hear people talking negatively about it, but our business is a tough business. It takes a little bit of intelligence to be good at it. And the way we used to do it was we knew the outcome of the match before we started, but we never knew how we were going to get there. Everything was called in the ring. So there was nothing choreographed or pre-planned about it other than we knew who was going to win. And so it made so when Randy come along, Randy being a real professional and wanted to do everything perfect, wanted to have everything written out and choreographed and done this way and then that way, and that just didn't work with me. And so the first time we were going to wrestle with this program, he came in with about 5 pages in a notebook, gave them to me to read, and I took one page, I wrinkled it, and threw it, after I read it, threw it in the garbage, read the next one, garbage, and each time I did this, he was getting more angry and more angry. And he thought, in his way of thinking, that I was taking a lazy approach to the business. I'm thinking I'm taking a more intelligent approach to the business because what gets over in L.A. might not get over in New York.
Exactly.
You have to change things, and you can do that on the run if you understood ring psychology. That's another art that's lost, and those were arts that I was taught. So here we are. We have the new generation coming in with the old generation with a great storyline. Great storyline that people are good. And this at one time I was the wildest, nastiest, meanest, most rotten heel in the history of the business, and I became a cartoon, lovable character. And that's what he had to deal with. I mean, it was a strange. It was the timing and everything, where the business was at and where we were at, it was actually perfect. And that I say that getting rid of all the egotistical stuff that you might think I mean, but it was the perfect match at the perfect time.
I would agree, and like I said, this is when I was starting to really watch it. And granted, I was a small kid, but to this day, every time I turn on a episode of Raw or Impact or something along those lines, and I get, why do I bother with this stuff? I'm so fed up with it. And this is from a guy who runs a wrestling radio show, who runs a website, has an LLC business about pro wrestling. Yeah. I go back and I watch that kind of stuff that I grew up on, which is the stuff that you did. And it really does remind me why I bother, if that, for lack of a better way of putting it.
Let me say something positive about the young people today.
Mm-hmm.
The wrestling that they do is very different. The storylines and everything is not what we did. It's a totally different business. With that said, now let's talk about the athletes themselves.
Oh, yeah.
They are fantastic athletes.
I actually was going to ask you about that, yeah.
They're unbelievable. They're much better athletes than we were. No question about that in my mind. Now, the swing part of that is we were tougher. There's no doubt about that. We were tougher people at the time. And I think that's pretty obvious, too.
I would think that would be pretty obvious, yeah. I mean, when you see guys like Kofi Kingston, who's just an absolutely amazing athlete, probably could have played whatever sport he wanted to,
right.
Going out there and doing these athletic, acrobatic things. But, yeah, you guys, I would still not – I still would rather not tangle with
I wouldn't want him in my corner in a street fight.
That's exactly right. That's exactly the way to put it. I got to talk to you a little bit about your football days. And
sure.
Obviously, you mentioned that you're in the book that your knee injury prevented you from going forward in college with football. But
there was more to it than that. I had, the ability, the learning challenges and all that. I was often in a lot of trouble for different things, and I just wasn't really ready for college, to be honest with you. And I look back at it, it's a blessing. I never played a play of football at Michigan State. Never played a play. And
really?
Yeah, I cover that in the book. Duffy, I was sounds egotistical again. I was above average great athlete, but I was always in trouble, or I did have a knee problem. But I don't even like to lay that out. It was just, I was taking ROTC, and a guy got in my face and told me to wipe some mud off my shoes, and I hitting him in the nose, and I flunked for a year. Then I was in wrestling class, and one of our football players was a senior. I was a junior, and this class was only offered once a year, so you have to pass it. And I was the best wrestler. It was a wrestling class, and Franny O'Brien, who later on played for the Redskins, was flunking his class because he never came to class. So Finley Collins, the coach, said, "Well, if you could beat Myers, we'll give you a grade." So that was the first match I ever threw. and the instructor got hot and flunked me. He said, "Well, I'll give you Randy's grade. He can have yours." So he got an A and I got an F. I had to repeat it, and it cost me a year of eligibility. I lost 2 or 3 years of eligibility that way, just doing stupid things.
Right. Now, obviously, football back then, and this is by no means an insult or a comment about your age, but being a football fan also, I've read the books of guys like Terry Bradshaw,
sure.
And they all talk about the money they made back then comparative to what they make now. Other
side of the coin, I can go right to that for you, and I think you'll get a kick out of this.
Mm-hmm.
Had I played football at Michigan State, I am sure that I would have been playing in the NFL. And in that period of time, I would have been making about $6,000 a year.
Wow! Compared to a gentleman I met last night, Larry Fitzgerald of the Arizona Cardinals, who gets $121 million for a 5-year contract.
Right, but back then that wasn't. This was before the union, and they weren't making that kind of money. Guys that played 7 or 8 years was getting $7,000 and working 2 jobs.
Wow!
My second or third year in wrestling, I was making more money than I would have made if I was playing pro football.
Wow.
So up until just, when the unions came in, and I'll be a good friend of mine, Bob Wolf, was the backbone of forming the unions for the NFL, NBA, and baseball.
Wow.
And we sat on the beach in Hollywood Beach, Florida, and he wanted me to represent him and present the union to professional wrestling. And I told him, I said, Bob, it'll never work with our people because we have top guys and we have underneath guys, and we're not going to share the money. And I look back at it.
What year were we talking with this, if you don't mind me asking? What year abouts was this conversation?
This had been about 71.
Oh, wow. So this goes back. Okay.
Yeah, this was before everything else was organized.
Wow.
So yeah. But I think you know enough about Vince McMahon that he was going to be the boss. And his dad was I loved his father, but he was going to be the boss too.
There you go. Now that kind of leads me to my next question, because Vince McMahon is kind of responsible for your parody that became the character that we all seem to remember, which was George the Animal Steele, the lovable cartoon character. Which did you prefer? Did you prefer being the eloquent, real maniac bad guy, or did you like playing the cartoon character?
I was a natural heel. I loved being a heel. That's what it was all about. I mean, I loved it. It was amazing that I was able to transfer it into the other character. But I understood that the business was changing. And, that was very important that the business was changing. And so the character that I played, I did not take it real serious like a lot of guys do sometimes.
You think that's a problem, that guys take it too seriously?
Back then, yes. Not so much now. They know what they're doing now. I mean, and to me, and this is not, again, knocked on, the business had to change from where I was at into where it's at now, basically because of social media.
Right.
I mean, some people don't understand that, but that's just the way it is. And
just so much information out there that...
Yeah, it just... the people got so much... they're so smart about everything. Politics, politicians are dying now because people know too much.
Right.
Social media is, out there big time. And I think that if I had to do it all over again, I would do it the same way I did. I would do my heel business. I would do that when the time was right, when the business was changing, and we were selling, instead of wrestling, we were selling action figures and lunch buckets and all that stuff. It was marketing. Yeah. I would have switched and been a cartoon character because financially it was the only smart thing to do.
You mentioned action figures, and I remember I've been doing this a long time, and about 10 years ago, I was doing a radio show, and somebody called in, and they were talking about having had the opportunity to meet you, and they said that I would enjoy this story, and it's true. They said that you told them that you used to look at the feet of the action figures they handed you to sign, and if the front of the feet was the paint was wearing, you'd sign it. If the back was worn, it wouldn't, because if the back was worn, that means you were losing the matches.
They were letting them pin me. If my toes were messed up, I was getting the pins. That's right.
I don't know why, but that stuck me for years, so I wanted. I wanted to make sure I brought it up to you.
I started laughing when you started saying that because that's common stuff with me.
Very good. Well, you mentioned a little bit about wrestling then and now, and going back to the 70s, there was a promotion that was trying to go national before even Vince McMahon did, which was the IWA. They were trying to take over in the New York territory. I guess from that I want to ask you this. From a guy who's wrestled Bruno Sammartino to a guy who saw, the Hulk Hogan's come up and the transformation of the business to the more cartoony, more national MTV-based generation that it became and to some degree still is. What do you honestly think of the transformation of our business?
Wow, that's a great question. I think that Bruno Sammartino was probably the greatest thing that ever happened to wrestling. I mean, he was a real, legitimate, hard-nosed champion. I think that, again, because of social media and the changing of times, I said I was a football guy earlier. Mm-hmm. You look at the Green Bay Packers, the first year they won the Super Bowl. And look at them now. Look at what's happening now in football. The Packers back then looked like they're running in ankle-deep mud. They're so slow compared to what's going on now. Look at basketball. Compared basketball to back when, it's way before you, but I'm talking about in the 50s, 60s. They're phenomenal athletes. We didn't have those kind of athletes way back then. The guy, I can't think of his name now, the basketball player from it used to be the Milwaukee team, or not Milwaukee, Minnesota team.
Will Chamberlain?
No, way before him.
Way before Will Chamberlain, okay.
Will Chamberlain, that's when good athletes started getting involved. Micah or something like that. I can't even think of his name.
Gosh.
But,
got to be honest, I follow all major sports except basketball. I never was a huge fan.
This guy, was legendary back then, but he couldn't even walk on a court today if he was still a young man. The level's just so different. Same with every sport. The athletes are so much better now than what they were then. It's unbelievable. I think it has a lot to do with nutrition and other supplements and a lot of other things going on.
Very good, very good. Now, we talked a little bit about where we're at now, and for the past several years, you've been a big part of the Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame in Amsterdam, New York. I guess I want to find out, what made you go so, what stuck you into being so involved in the Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame in Amsterdam? Because I know that you're a big supporter of it.
Well, what happened was I was inducted into the WWF Hall of Fame in 1995.
Right. Well before they did these major ceremonies every year.
Yeah. And then they had one in 96, and then they didn't have one for about 3 years.
Right.
And in that period of time, I was at an independent show. I ran into one of the state representatives, and he asked me about the Professional Wrestling Hall of Fame. I said, well, it really doesn't exist. Tony Villano said that, and then we had a few scotches, and we got to talking about it. And he said, well, you guys should have a bricks and mortar museum Hall of Fame. And, in wrestling, you talk to a lot of people, and a lot of it's hot air, and it goes through one ear and out the other. Right. I went home and forgot about it. And about 8 months later, I get a call from Tony Villano, and I don't even know who he is. He tells me, I got the museum. What are you talking about? And he's telling me all this stuff. And then it dawned on me what he was talking about. And we started a Hall of Fame, and Vince hadn't done any inductions for a couple of years. And then finally he started doing it again. But we're not in opposition to his Hall of Fame. We're a non-profit. We'd be crazy to try to run up against a billion-dollar industry. But we are grassroots, and we do honor guys. We start way back in the 1800s with some of the people we've honored. Right. And we bring guys in, and it's all we have. We set up like the baseball, football Hall of Fame, very, very similar. We have 100 quote, and you could probably join us, guys that have watched the business and followed historians and so on, and they vote on it every year. We have 5 people that set up a ballot, and we change that every 3 or 4 years, who's sitting up the ballot, and it's strictly legitimate. Now, wrestlers being wrestlers, we've had guys offer $10,000 because they have real nice rings, but we're legitimate. We're not for sale, and wrestlers sometimes have a hard time understanding that. because of the nature of the business they're in. But this is a real deal, and so that's why I hang my hat on it so strong. I'm proud to be in the WWE Hall of Fame, but it's really chosen by one or two people, and it's more of a glitz and glitter thing, and ours is more of a rustic, old school type of thing. So I love both of them. I don't knock one or the other. I love them both.
Absolutely. There's been talk, and I'm not sure if you heard about this at all, but there's been talk by the WWE about pairing up with Universal Studios in Orlando to do a kind of like a walkthrough version of their brick and mortar Hall of Fame to have like memorabilia and things like that. Do you think that would be a good thing, or is an amusement park not the place to do it?
Vince has been talking about putting up a real Hall of Fame for the last 8 years.
Yeah.
And a couple of different locations. One that keeps coming up is Orlando, which is right close to where I live. That's nice. But unless he sees where it's going to be a financial advantage, I don't think he's going to do it. And I don't see where a Hall of Fame in his situation is going to be a financial edge for him.
I would tend to agree. I think that you're probably going to see it more as a yearly ceremony before WrestleMania for quite some time to come.
And that works.
Absolutely, it works. Hey, they sold out Madison Square Garden with it, so they're doing something pretty good.
With the Bruno Sammartino.
Absolutely. Long overdue, I might add.
Absolutely. I got a lot of phone calls on that. What did I think about Bruno finally accepting the offer to go in? And my answer to that was very simple. I respected his choice when he decided not to go in for many years. I respect his choice to go in. I mean, that's just, to me, a no-brainer.
Absolutely. I wanted to ask you about this, and this probably goes back to the cartoon character, but how did you enjoy your time working with the, again, unfortunately, late, great Lou Albano?
Oh, see, Lou and I was together as a heel.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. He was my heel manager. So Lou and I were just basically real good friends for a long time, and it was just phenomenal to have him as a partner. Then just riding a car with Lou was fun. I mean, come on.
Well, like I mentioned previously, the book has been out for about a week now, and it's been coming close to 2 weeks, and it's been really well received. And I really can't thank you enough for spending this much time with us. Is there anything that you'd like to say to your fans before I stop recording here tonight?
No, just thank you for their support. I hope they look at the book. I think they'll enjoy it. They'll be surprised because it's a very different book, different approach, and it's a very honest book, and it really tells about how an old, ugly, nasty, rotten, bad guy like me could end up with Jesus Christ as a tag team partner.
There you go. And I take it back. I do have 2 more questions for you that came in from our readers, and one of those questions actually involves the cover of your book. They want to know why there was not much written about mine in your autobiography.
Well, mine came along right at the end. I quit wrestling in 1989 because I was coming down with Crohn's disease.
Yeah, that's a big part of the book too.
And that's part of the overcoming challenges. I was supposed to be dead 20 years ago, but the Mind Doll came out about 8 months before that, and we were selling truckloads of them. It was really getting over big time, but I got sick in the middle of the program and it died. What can I say? I got a couple up there in the closet. You guys slow down now. The Mind Dolls every now and then start getting at each other. I got 2 of them. I got to separate them.
That's awesome. Yeah, they wanted to know if it was because at the time there was a lot of things like that that were starting to get popular. Randy Poffel had his frisbees and things like that, and your Mind Doll was starting to sell big.
It was going big time, but then that's right at the point. Right at that point when I got sick. My career ended.
And the final question I have for you actually is about your movie career and your appearance in the movie Ed Wood. I guess my simple question is, how different was it to be cutting a wrestling promo, either eloquent or as the lovable cartoon character? How different was it to be in front of a movie camera?
Well, that's funny you asked that. Right away, Tim Burton and a couple of other people said, "Gee, you don't seem to be. We thought you'd be very nervous. It'd be hard to work with you." And Bill Murray said, "What are you talking about? He's been acting his whole life."
That's awesome.
So that kind of covered that. What was funny is when Tim, I didn't know who Tor Johnson was. And when he called me up, he said, I want you to play this part, Tor Johnson. I heard that you look a lot like him, and I had to go down and meet him, and I did indeed look like Tor Johnson, this movie star. So, I strutted my stuff until I found out that Tor Johnson was the first guy to do monster movies without makeup.
Wow. Well, again, I can't thank you for spending as much time as you did with us tonight, and I hope everybody does pick up the book. I've been doing a lot of book-based interviews of late, and I tell everybody to buy the book, but honestly, in all honesty, people should pick this one up. It's a enjoyable read, and like I said, one of the things that I really do enjoy about it more than a lot of the other books is that it's not just a chronological order of your wrestling career. Instead, it's literally about your life and you telling stories about your life rather than just the George Animal Steele character.
You just hit on a thing that's really important. It was very difficult to write because I would be in Madison Square Gardens, say, in August, a main event in Madison Square Gardens in 1970, whatever, and the following Monday be on a football field in Madison Heights, Michigan, with a totally different lifestyle, totally different character. In fact, my wife had to come up with a thing because it was a tough switch going from George Steele to Jim Myers, believe me, Coach Jim Myers. So what we would do is she would say, we got to get George in the box and get Jim out of the box so he can make sense. But thank you so much for your time.
I appreciate that. I got to ask you, though, did you ever scream at your football players, hey, you?
You know what? I didn't coach quite. I was
not that way?
No, not at all. I can tell you this. George did coach one day, one game, and we won it. So he's 1-0. And what happened was we were the first. This is funny. We kicked off to this team that was supposed to be better than we are, and they kicked off to us. Let me get this right. We kicked off to them. They got the ball on the 21-yard line. They ran the ball, ran an option right, and my left tackle tackled the quarterback and slapped the ball, and my far end caught it and ran it in for a touchdown. We kicked off again, and it was on the 23-yard line. They ran the same play. It looked like an instant replay. We slapped the ball. We were in for a touchdown. We're up 14-0. And I turned around to my brother like a smart aleck. He's my defensive coordinator. Uh-huh. And as we kick off, I said, "Are you going to let us play any offense tonight?" And he said, "Yeah, now." As I looked up, their back was running it in for a touchdown. So less than a minute, we had 3 touchdowns. It was 14-7. At halftime, it was 21-14. We were completely intimidated. My athletic director used to be a Marine, and I said to him, "What do you do when your team's completely intimidated?" He said, "You make them more afraid of you than they are of them." So George Steele showed up in the locker room, and it was we won the game. That's all I could say. George won. They got more scared of George than they did the opponents.
Awesome story. Again, thank you so much. And for those who are listening, this is happening very late on the East Coast, so I really do appreciate you spending as much time as you did, especially at this late hour.
Hey, this is the Macho Man Randy Savage, and you're listening to the Interactive Interview. Oh, yeah.
And welcome back to WrestlingEpicenter.com. We are back after our exclusive interview with the one and only George the Animal Steele, right here on WrestlingEpicenter.com. Patrick, are you joining us on the line now?
I am. I was not a part of the interview. I'm sorry I missed that. But I'm here now, and I look forward to listening to the George Steele interview because it sounded like a lot of fun.
It really was. One of those guys that I always wanted to have on, and it never really worked out. In fact, he's one of very few guys who actually pretty much rejected my invitation. I think the only 2 people who ever rejected my invitation for an interview, flat out rejected, was George the Animal Steele, which we've now conquered, and Cowboy Bob Orton. Neither one of them were jerks about it. They just didn't have anything to promote. So they're just like, not really.
Yeah, okay.
But, yeah, great interview. Good guy, great interview, and I really am glad that we got this one in the books. Speaking of books, his book is out now. Great book for those who haven't read it already. It really is an enjoyable read for anybody who wants to hear about the wrestling scene. And people, for whatever reason, people always just remember, possibly because of the generation gap,
possibly because it's when he was full-time, but people seem to remember George Steele best as that almost ridiculous cartoon character from like 1986 through 1990.
Right.
Or what have you. Prior to playing that over-the-top cartoon character, he was a real badass, legitimate threat for the World Heavyweight Championship. I mean, he wrestled Bruno Sammartino for the World Heavyweight Championship. So he really was a eloquent, badass wrestler. And in the book, he actually describes how he ended up doing the character of the Animal, the way that he did it. He cut a promo on a taping for one of the WWF shows at the time, probably Championship Wrestling. And Vince said, no, I don't want that. You should be the Animal, so talk like an animal. So jokingly, he just did a garbled, hey, you thing. And that's what Vince wanted.
That sounds about right.
So he kind of jokingly tried to do something so ridiculous that they'd go for it, that they'd say, oh, we don't want you to do that, go back to what you were doing. And it's not what they wanted. They wanted him to be exactly that character, that bizarre, garbled, spoken animal that we've all come to know and admire, I guess you would say.
Right. Yeah. And what was I going to say? Ripping the turnbuckle pad and eating the turnbuckle pad, that was always, the signature of the character. And that's always nice when a character has a weird signature like that, because to show how unique that is, there's no way you can work that into a video game.
Yeah, I mean, he was in one of the games, and they didn't do it. As far as I remember, you could not bite it was one of the SmackDown games they put him in, and he could not bite the turnbuckle. I don't recall if he, forgive me, I don't recall if he was in any of those Legends of Wrestling games, but,
You might have been.
Yeah. Those games were very hit and miss.
Yeah, I heard each game was like, with each sequel, it was like 2 steps forward, 1 step back the whole time.
Yeah, the most recent one was very good. The best roster of everything they did. They had announcing done by Bobby Heenan, Larry Zbyszko, and Tony Schiavone, so it was basically like having the WCW announce crew. Referencing many of the things that happened. Like if you had Hogan against the Warrior in that game, Bobby Heenan and Tony Schiavone would talk about the match they had at WrestleMania 6. So it was really cool.
I'm surprised they're allowed to do that.
I guess because it actually happened, they're allowed to. I'm trying to remember if they were vague about it, like the great match they had in 1990 or anything like that, or if it was just flat out WrestleMania 6. I don't recall. But yeah, those games were good. That was the coolest part of it, and Jimmy Hart did the music for it, so the music was freaking killer. Gameplay, they fixed a lot of the bugs in the first one, but then they added new ones, like you said, so 2 steps forward and 1 step back. So
Right.
Graphically,
I never played any of them, surprisingly.
Really? I'm sure you can pick them up for GameCube for like $2 at GameStop or something like that at this point.
Oh yeah. Oh well, I could probably get them on eBay for a ridiculously low price at this point.
Yep, I have all 3. I'd recommend either 2 or 3. The first one was very much an experiment, but yeah, if
so like WrestleMania 18.
Yeah, we just talked about that the other day. WrestleMania 18 for the GameCube. That was,
which I'm convinced was an unfinished game.
Well, it was sold to me by people who were playing it. It's just like No Mercy. In what way?
They're both on Nintendo.
They're both wrestling games. They're both on the WWFE banner. That's about it. The gameplay was nothing like it. The
tables had no effect. I remember that was something where you could literally like break a table and it would be like paper, and the wrestlers wouldn't feel it. It was like, well, tables are completely pointless.
It was almost as if the table was less effective than just slamming them on the mat.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because slamming him on the mat would do some damage, as it would, but the table, they just seemed to always bounce right back up. I ended up in a match, it was Hogan against Trish Stratus, computer-generated Trish Stratus. I didn't want to beat her up. And it was a Hell in a Cell match. Hogan knocked her off the top of the cage. She fell off the top of the cage, through the announce table. And I know Hogan's not a young guy, not even then, but by the time he was halfway climbing down the cage, she was already back on her feet and swinging at me. It did not make any sense.
Yeah.
Anyway.
That was something that did get better. The Day of Reckoning games, which were kind of the next step in that. I think the Day of Reckoning games are very, very good.
They're very underrated. They're very underrated games. The only negative of those games was the striking. I think the striking was too all-encompassing.
Mm-hmm.
Like you could probably win a match just by punch all the time. But other than that, I think it was pretty much that's the closest I've seen to the No Mercy engine.
Right.
And there's something to be said about those games. If there's any game that I play regularly other than No Mercy, it is one of those games because it was just so well done. And the moveset was far superior to any other game.
Well, I'm sure the SmackDown games have great movesets. It's just that
Not really.
My problem with those games have always been and this is how I always describe them, they're very arcadey and button mashy. If that makes any sense.
They are.
Like if I were playing Street Fighter or Mortal Kombat or Tekken, it was that it's basically like a wrestling version of like that style of game, and I don't mean that in a good way. Because I feel wrestling is different.
They've gotten more towards wrestling in the more recent versions of the game, but it's still essentially the same engine. And no, the movesets are not better. They're not that great. I mean, they have all their signature moves, don't get me wrong, but there's a lot more diversity.
Hidden gems.
Yeah, there's a lot more diversity in the movesets of Day of Reckoning and No Mercy than in the SmackDown engines.
Yeah, because that was always part of the fun of creating wrestlers for those games, is that there'd be, a ton of moves that aren't used by any other wrestler in the game, and you could assign them to some of your guys.
Right, exactly, yeah. I mean, and you could purchase moves, too, that were really cool. Like, at the time, when No Mercy came out, they did not own WCW, but because THQ had already done the game for WCW, all the moves for the key WCW superstars, like at the time Hogan and Goldberg and DDP and Booker T, and I could keep going on and on, even Brett, all the key movesets were there. You just had to find them and figure out where they were hidden. So you could essentially have made the Dream Team, WWE versus WCW game at the time that it came out, because all the moves of those characters were there, and the pieces were there to put them together. You just had to do it.
Yeah, the only problem was with No Mercy is that it would, delete your game all the time.
The thing was, if you did that and you still had your proof of purchase, you could return the game to THQ, and they'd send you a new one with the save module fixed. Right.
I never did that. I should have.
The other way to fix it would be to, and this is the truth, and I did this and it worked, leave your Nintendo 64 on for like 3 days straight with your game in there, and for some reason it recharges the battery pack on the game and it fixes it.
So if you lose the save, it'll come back?
No, once it's gone, it's gone. But if you do that, it will recharge the save on the. Apparently, the game was created with some kind of save on the game, and if you if you did that, it would recharge whatever's not charged on it that would cause it to delete. So basically, what I did with my game is, whenever I'd play it, I'd leave it on afterwards for like the whole night and then turn it off in the morning. And I never lost anything after that point. The other way, by the way, is you're not supposed to do the story modes with a created character. That's almost a surefire way that you're going to get your stuff deleted.
Mm-hmm.
We're kind of rambling, aren't we?
We're rambling about video games.
Yeah, well, at least it's wrestling games this time, so it's not just completely off topic.
Yeah. Yeah.
Incidentally, I did get a new game that I didn't get it. I had it, and I couldn't find it and found it. The History of WrestleMania game, which actually is closer to pertaining to George Animal Steele. And that is a very interesting game, great graphically. It goes through all the arenas of the old WrestleManias, which is really cool. Like,
that's actually a really cool feature, yeah.
Yeah, to go back and play on the Pontiac Silverdome for WrestleMania 3 is just such a cool feature. The only problem I have with it is the bizarre finishers. Jake's short arm clothesline is called a DDT. It's like, what? That was not the DDT. That was a short arm clothesline. But they sell it like it's the DDT. And it's like, but that was the short arm clothesline. That was not the DDT.
Does he do the DDT?
It's in the move set, but every time I do the finisher, the way that it says to do the finisher, he does a short arm clothesline. So I literally have no idea.
Okay.
Other ones like Hogan's Hook Up and everything like that are what they say they are, but Jake's DDT, nope, short arm clothesline, drives me nuts.
I can imagine.
It's like I want to see somebody's head get crushed. But anyway, something George Animal Steele said in the interview that I wanted to pick up on was he talked about wrestlers of today versus wrestlers of yesterday, and he said that it's true in almost every sport. If you go back and watch a football game from the 70s, to some degree, those guys would look like they were running with bricks attached to their feet because it was slower. And he says wrestling now, the guys are much, much better athletes. But he said if I had to choose between a guy from his generation or, say, Kofi Kingston, not to single out Kofi again, and actually go into a fight, you want one of the tough guys from that generation.
Oh yeah, well, I've heard all the stories. I mean, some of those guys were, if they weren't professional wrestlers, they would have been professional criminals, probably, street thugs and shit like that. So yeah, I totally know what George the Animal Steele's talking about.
Yeah, well, they were tough guys. I mean, I know Ming is a little bit younger, or probably a good 15 years younger than George Steele, but look at that guy. I mean, he bit the guy's nose off in a bar fight.
Who did?
Ming. Haku.
Oh, yeah, that guy, yeah. Again, I've heard stories.
You hear the stories. Apparently he was getting, the story is basically he was getting thrown a bunch of crap because he was a wrestler and a phony fighter and all this stuff. And one guy just basically kept making fun of him from across the bar. After a little bit, Haku got up, walked across the bar, went face-to-face with the guy, and bit his nose off. I don't mean he bit him on the nose. I mean he bit it off.
Yeah, I've heard all kinds of stories. Didn't we have interview somebody on this site that told a story about Haku was in a big bar fight with like 20 people, and when the cops went in there to go get him, other wrestlers were like, you don't want to go in there. No, just let him be by himself for a few minutes and let him calm down. He'll leave willingly, but you don't want to go in there now. He might murder you. And he's like, but we have guns. Doesn't matter.
I believe it. But on the flip side of that, Crowbar was on this show, probably 5 years ago now at least, and we talked about him being sick on the WCW bus, Crowbar himself. And of all people to have come to his aid, he was sitting there curled up in a ball on one of the bus seats on the WCW bus. They went into a restaurant, and who brought him a bowl of chicken soup? But
Aww.
So it's like you get the flip side where he's just a psychopathic, tough son of a bitch, and then you get the other side where he's actually a good guy. So believe the bottom line
don't piss him off.
Don't piss him off. Yes, you would not like him when he is angry.
He's Bruce Banner and the Incredible Hulk all rolled into one.
Yep. All mixed with a culture that approved of cannibalism up till about 100 years ago. So.
Well, that explains the nose biting.
Well, yeah, cannibalism was okay in Samoa up until 1905. That's the truth. So
wow.
That's why those folks always have that savage thing placed on them, fairly or unfairly.
Oh, yeah.
The stupid shit.
Plus, during the 80s, in the 80s, like, racial stereotypes were okay. Even in, like, movies, like if you watch Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, like, it was okay to put certain racial stereotypes on people, and, yeah. You go back and watch it now, and it's probably mildly embarrassing, but, yeah.
Well, just the other day, we lost Edith Bunker. She passed away. And
yeah.
If you think about it, would All in the Family have flown today?
Oh, no one would do that today. They wouldn't touch it.
No, they wouldn't touch it because they would piss everybody off.
Mm-hmm. Even though the show's brilliant, I think it's one of the best shows of all time. It's kind of like Blazing Saddles. Like, even though Blazing Saddles has a very anti-racism message and it's a very funny movie, I don't think anybody would touch that type of movie today because it's a giant comedy where the N-word is dropped around very liberally by white people. And
what are we talking about?
Yeah, it was just say what? Blazing Saddles.
Blazing Saddles. Okay, yeah. No,
yeah, you'd never get away with it today.
No, and they just did a list of like the top 50 greatest or best written television series, and All in the Family was in the top 10, and Blazing Saddles is just a phenomenal movie. I mean, we own that one, right there. She won't be heard on radio, so. Yeah. Anyway, here we go. So we should probably talk a little bit about current events in wrestling. We got two major events to talk about. One of them is about 2 weeks old now, or at least 1 week old. I can't remember. I think it's 2 weeks old. And that is Slammiversary. And then tomorrow night, from when we're recording this, we have the Payback pay-per-view. Yeah, we have the Payback pay-per-view, which will feature the return of CM Punk. So before we get into Payback, what did you think of Slammiversary a few weeks ago?
I thought the show was good overall. And maybe it had a couple missteps here and there, but overall it was a nice, solid show.
I really enjoyed it. The missteps was basically the main misstep, I would say, would be having Kurt Angle over on AJ Styles.
Yes.
Which they tried to rectify by having AJ beat him in the Bound for Glory series, but it doesn't.
Well, everything has to be 50-50. That's how it all works. And I made a video blog about how I don't agree with that style of booking. Where everything has to balance out.
That's a byproduct of the Shawn Michaels era. And it's probably not Shawn Michaels personally, but it's a byproduct of that era where, well, I got to get my win back. Well, what does that even mean? I got to get my win back. It's just such nonsense. I have to get my win back. When a pro team loses, they're like, damn, I better do better next time to win again, or to get that win. But they never say, I got to get my win back. That's just ridiculous.
Well, Hogan's always been mocked for this. It's always been said that the Ultimate Warrior was brought into WCW just so Hogan could, quote-unquote, get his win back, and Hogan's been mocked for that. But I was like, I see that happen a lot. Like, Lesnar has to lose at WrestleMania to Triple H just so Triple H can get his win back. And then the next month it's like, oh, well, Lesnar needs to get his heat back, so we're going to have him go over so that it all balances out. And that kind of stuff is just annoying.
Well, it's parody. Yeah, and we talked about it a lot, especially when Eric was with the show. It's a matter of parody. Some guys are stars and some guys aren't. Some people are better than others. They seem to have a failure to, unless you're somebody like Santino, who they don't have a problem beating, or Zack Ryder or somebody like that of that level. Everybody else is just the same level. Randy Orton beats the Big Show beats Randy Orton. Alberto Del Rio beats Swagger beats Alberto Del Rio. Essentially, they're all...
Del Rio just did a whole series of matches with Biggie Langston where they literally just traded win. You knew who was going to win the match based on who won the last one.
Right, and it doesn't do anybody any good because nobody comes out looking like they're undefeatable. In fact, they both look beatable.
Right. Well, Biggie Langston's supposed to be this big monster guy that throws people around, and he loses.
And he's getting beat by a soccer-loving chicklick tooth.
Say what?
I don't know. Something I heard on Family Guy the other day. They were making fun of some Mexican guy.
Oh, okay. I'm not surprised. Family Guy makes fun of everybody, so that's kind of the thing.
Yeah, some more than others, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, basically, it's one of those shows where nothing's sacred.
Yeah, not even religion, and that's the main reason I don't watch it anymore, or as much as I used to anyway.
I don't watch it anymore because it's not funny anymore. It's like The Simpsons where it just wore itself out.
I checked out when they did that whole episode where Meg found religion, and at the end of it, it was basically Brian berating her because things didn't go well, and there was like no comeuppance to it. It's like, where's your God now? Where's your God now? Where's this magical man in the sky? And then the theme song ended, and it was like, you just basically spat upon religion, and that's how you closed your show.
Yeah.
Wow. That's awe-inspiring.
He's an atheist, so that's, and I don't have a problem if you're an atheist, that's fine, but the problem sometimes is that some atheists, one of my best friends is an atheist, he's one of the coolest guys I know, and totally cool with other religions, but that's the thing, they're not accepting of other religions, like, at all, so they kind of come off like know-it-all smartasses, and that's kind of a problem.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree. But anyway, I don't know how we got on that topic from Slammiversary.
Well, getting your win back.
Yeah, Kurt Angle. Getting your win back. Oh, God. There you go.
Yeah.
So Kurt Angle, going into the TNA Hall of Fame, a lot of people initially were kind of, it should have been Jeff Jarrett. What is your take on it? Were you at all bothered by it, or I can accept it just fine?
I can accept it just fine. Like I said, I've said this about the WWE Hall of Fame, TNA's Hall of Fame more so, since theirs is, for lack of a better term, less credible than the WWE's. It's just kind of like, look, they just want to highlight some guy and give him a spotlight moment and acknowledge his career. It's like, fine, whatever, I'll go with it. And I'm not surprised that it was Kurt because I think Kurt might be retiring soon. I think he's probably getting close to the end, so they probably wanted to get that in there. Also, they're going to do that match with Quentin Rampage Jackson, so they want Kurt to feel like seem like he's a big deal.
That's true. It is a rub to him to build him up for that match. I don't know about retirement. I don't know that any wrestler ever really retires. But
Sean stayed retired. I'll give him that.
Yeah, he can't stay away from TV, but he hasn't wrestled again. I'll give him that.
Mm-hmm. Which, good. I mean, have you seen Sean lately? I was like, yeah, I don't want you wrestling.
Why do you say that?
Because he looks like a cast member from Deliverance.
So Shawn Michaels, the sexy boy, looks like a cast member from Deliverance.
Yeah.
I repeated that out loud to get Caroline's reaction. She just laughed at that.
Yeah, it's like he could come in with this new gimmick, the Wyatt family or whatever they are.
Yeah,
I've seen the vignettes for them. They're awesome.
One of them is IRS's kid. I don't fully understand what the hell the gimmick is.
I don't know either, but it's intriguing. I can't wait until they get to television.
Well, they're wrestled on some house shows.
Mm-hmm. Apparently, they're really good too.
Well, I mean, it's Mike Rotundo, IRS's kid, so he wouldn't let him go. Unlike Flair with David, I don't think that you'd see him allow his kid to get to that level until he was ready.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Speaking of which, Ricky Steamboat's kid is already basically done.
What happened?
Ricky Steamboat suffered a back injury, and
oh man,
he basically was told you either you're out for a year, or you may be done. It's going to depend on how your body reacts to the surgery. So
oh man,
at the bare minimum, out for the rest of the year.
Man, that's a shame. Because I kept hearing Richie was really good.
I did hear that, too. And if you really think about it, that's almost the same kind of injury that ended Ricky's career.
Yeah.
It was a back injury.
That's a shame.
Which is, I mean, Ricky's wrestled since then, but he didn't for good 10 years. Gosh, probably close to 20 years. 15, 16 years, something like that, since he wrestled. I mean,
right.
94 is when it happened, and he didn't wrestle again until the whole Jericho thing.
2010.
Yeah, so.
Gosh,
16 years.
16 years.
Almost as long as
I feel bad for that kid.
Absolutely. Anyway, yeah, main event was fine. Bully Ray keeps the title, defeats Sting, and
a little crazy. Points for creativity.
Crazy. I give it, though. I don't like when people say things are overbooked, because it just means that you're not that intelligent to keep up with it, if that makes any sense. They said that about the Sting and Jeff Jarrett match at the Halloween Havoc, where they had just various Stings through the years come down and attack them throughout the thing, and they're like, oh, that match was overbooked. What the hell does that mean? But
that sounds like a fan-invented term.
It is.
You see that a lot in fandom, where they'll invent a term and it actually becomes common vernacular.
They invent a term based on being negative to sound intelligent. We went through a phase, and we're still in it to some degree, but not as much as we were, where the only way to sound intelligent on the internet was to piss, bitch, and moan. If you said
that's what we're best at.
Yeah, if you said you liked something, then you were basically showing your ignorance. You're stupid because you enjoyed what you were watching. Well, if I didn't enjoy what I was watching, why the hell would I be watching it? Idiot.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, it's so yeah. I mean, I enjoyed the match. I really enjoyed when he cut the ring and exposed the wood underneath it, because you don't really get to see what's underneath the mat very often.
Right. Yeah. Well, again, like I said, points for creativity.
Yep. And the final thing about Slammiversary, I want to put over the Knockouts match, a match that we all expected to be just either piss break time.
The Shitty Diva filler match.
Yeah, piss break time or Shitty Diva filler match or whatever. Nothing of note, and it turned out to be one of the highlights of the show.
Oh, absolutely. It was great.
Yeah, and they've lost steam on that because they didn't have either girl appear on the next two Impacts.
Probably to sell the fact that they're dead. I mean, did you see the match? They beat the shit out of each other.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, that bulldog off the ramp was damn impressive, and they did a lot. That one spot where Gail came running across the ring and smashed her head into the chair that was propped up in the corner and then tumbled all the way to the floor. I mean, that looked wicked. That was really cool looking. Anyway, let's wrap up with Payback. Payback is tomorrow night, at the time that we're recording this, WWE's next pay-per-view event. And I believe you said you had the card pulled up?
Yes, I do.
Very good. Okay, what's on tap for Payback?
Okay, Payback, they actually have a full card, and I'm going to throw some praise towards the WWE. They've actually, in 2013, they've done a much better job of actually having full pay-per-view cards for their events rather than just having like four. One of the criticisms that I've had in the last couple of years is that they'll only have like 4 or 5 matches set, and then the rest of it is just a bunch of quote-unquote bonus matches that they make up the day of the show. And yeah, that just screams laziness and lack of planning to me. So, no, we actually have a full card here, and we've typically been getting that lately, so I'm actually going to throw some praise there.
Yeah, with 5 hours a week of television time, they have time to do that, so I'm glad that they are actually making use of it.
Okay, what do we got? For the Divas Champion, we've got Caitlyn versus AJ Lee.
I got to think AJ Lee's got to go over here.
She's the more interesting character.
She's by far the most interesting character, and they got to do something to inject some personality, believable personality into Caitlyn. Mm-hmm. I mean, right now she just seems like, wow, she's our next Trish Stratus. Really?
That's what it looks like they're going for, because they're, her look and everything is like they're going for Trish Stratus.
Linda better be careful.
I will say this: her theme song is awful, and she's a terrible actress. So she's got that working against her.
Yeah, she's got her theme song is it is awful. It sounds like stuff that came out 30 years ago that it sucked then.
Yeah.
That's like Alias. For anybody out there who knows who Alias is, that's what that crap sounds like to me. But
sounds to me like a bad video game system starting up, like not Atari, but like an Atari knockoff.
Sega. No, not that one.
Okay, but
I enjoyed the demise of Sega. The last video game thing, I enjoyed the demise of Sega because any video game company that decides that we need to purchase, what's that? Oh, any video game system that determines that we need to buy a new system every other week deserves to go out of business.
Oh, well, I mean, the joke was. They kept trying to extend the life of the Genesis by having add-ons to it. Like, the 32X was one of those pointless things I've ever seen.
Yeah, Sega CD was cool because it was one of the first systems to actually use a disc.
It wasn't perfected, though. It was very, like, if you go back and play it, it was very, like, bare bones, not... It's almost like when you play video games, most 3D games before N64 were horrible.
Yeah, absolutely, because they were slow loading and they were choppy as hell.
Yeah, turning left and right was a chore in those games, but it wasn't until about N64 where that got perfected. And that's kind of what the Sega CD is, where it's like, yeah, it's cool that everything's on a disc, and yeah, some of it looks great, but it's not, the marriage between CDs and, video game controls aren't quite there yet.
Even the first PlayStation was much the same way. If you go back and play like WCW, I'll throw it back to wrestling. If you go back and play WCW versus the World, which was essentially the No Mercy engine we keep talking about, done on the PlayStation platform, it was very blocky and choppy and difficult to maneuver.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I mean, it wasn't until the later generation systems, the N64 perfected it, and ironically still with a cartridge.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so we're both picking AJ Lee in the Divas title match. United States title match, Dean Ambrose versus Kane. Any excuse to get Dean Ambrose on the card is a good one because I think he's awesome.
Yeah, Ambrose goes over here. Nothing against Kane, but I don't understand why the Shield lost last night, and I don't understand why they would make him lose now. So I see Dean Ambrose going over here.
That seems like a waste. I mean, yeah, they technically lost that match to John Cena via disqualification.
But that's because it just was a DQ.
Right. I don't know. That just feels like a waste. They lose their first six-man tag on SmackDown, a tape show with no hype surrounding it. It's like, that just seems like a waste.
Very stupid booking. Not even lazy booking, but just stupid booking.
Yeah. I don't know if I call it lazy. It's just more, like you said, it's just stupid. Yeah. It's like, well, we have 2 hours to fill. Got to fill it with something.
I mean, they got a big enough roster. They could fill it with a lot of different things.
Absolutely.
I almost think they should scrap some of the crap that they do and start airing some of the videos they post on YouTube as show filler. Like the top 10 most ridiculous show intros and things like that they did. Things like that.
I don't know if that would hold a television audience, though.
Well, I don't know that the three-man band will either, so who's to say?
I don't know. So, okay, Dean Ambrose to retain the U.S. title. We've got the Shield, Roman Reigns, and I almost called him Tyler Black. Seth Rollins versus Daniel Bryan and Randy Orton. Obviously, the Shield goes over here as well.
Yeah, somebody's got to go heel on the other side of the coin.
I hope they don't turn Daniel Bryan heel, because I got to be honest, I think he's probably the best babyface in wrestling right now. With the role
so
he's
much
on.
momentum. Yeah, he's on a hell of a roll. The media outlets are actually asking to interview him. I mean, you got magic in a bottle here. Don't screw with it.
And I've said it before. He's kind of like what Mick Foley was to the Attitude Era, where he's just the perfect underdog.
Ironically, Mick Foley just commented on that, and he said that they asked him who the most intriguing character is on WWE TV right now, and he said, without a question, Daniel Bryan.
Yep, I agree.
So there you go.
And I think if they turn him heel, I think that would be kind of ignorant on their part, because it's just. I think it would just be going against the grain.
And I think the people are much happier with Randy Orton as a heel.
Yeah, well, because he's boring as fuck.
He's not a very good babyface. No, he does. There's no. People always say he's like Jake Roberts. He works the same both ways. Yeah, but Jake Roberts was a badass character, regardless of which way he played it. Randy Orton is just a white meat babyface that kind of seems, I don't know, borderline autistic. I mean, he seems very aloof at times, just staring into space and stuff. And it doesn't strike me as, oh, he's a viper. It just strikes me as, is he bored or something?
Well, one of my problems with him is if you watch his babyface matches, it's very much like a Cena match where it's like, all right, he'll get beat up for a while, then there's a sequence of moves. It's like, all right, snap power slam, mid-rope DDT, pound the mat, RKO, it's over. Yeah, okay, I know where this is going.
Yeah, I think for his character, he needs to turn heel. I think he'll be much more comfortable in his own skin by doing so.
Right, I agree.
It's tough because unless you have that in you, like Kofi Kingston would be a hard sell as a heel because he just legitimately seems happy to be there. But somebody like Orton, let's be honest. Let's look at who he is. He's a draft dodging MIA guy who goes MIA from the military, destroys hotel
AWOL.
rooms in AWOL, destroys hotel rooms. I think he's on, like, opportunity 2.99999 on the wellness policy.
He's one of those guys. He's like, he filled Jeff Hardy's spot for the guy that never gets fired for wellness violations.
Exactly. So, I mean, if you really think about it, he's an asshole. So he's a natural heel. Make him that. That's not a shot at him, by the way, either. Well, it kind of is, but it plays to who he is, play to his character. He's not a predisposed babyface. His characteristics are more of a bad guy.
Yeah, I agree. Plus, he's been the babyface for so long, it's just, come on, it's over now.
And it's not going anywhere. He really isn't going anywhere as the babyface. He's kind of...
So how many times can I watch him beat up Wade Barrett?
Good point, yeah.
Yeah. Which, speaking of that, we're going into the Intercontinental title match. It'll be Wade Barrett in a three-way versus The Miz and Curtis Axel replacing Fandango, which I have to say that is a serious downgrade.
Who do they have replacing Fandango?
Curtis Axel.
Curtis Axel.
And he's going to go over because, he's the one that they like.
Yeah, I don't think that there's any choice. By the way, just to throw back, Caroline just mentioned it, Randy Orton actually was pulled from playing the role in the Marine 2, because the Marines actually got pissed off and said, we don't want some guy who went AWOL actually getting the opportunity to play a Marine in a movie. That's just ridiculous. So just throwing that out there. Yeah. Curtis Axel's going to go over in this match. It is a downgrade from Fandango. I hope he's okay. I know he's got the concussion, so hopefully he'll be all right. But
yeah, one of my favorite characters to watch on television. So yeah, hopefully he comes back okay.
Yeah, there's talk that they might break up 3MB, and that Drew McIntyre, who I believe is in 3MB, is going to become next Paul Heyman guy. I wish they'd just swallow the bullet and call it the Dangerous Alliance.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, if you think about it, they'd have a stable. If Punk stays within it, they'd have Brock, Punk,
Axel,
and potentially Drew McIntyre, and that's a pretty impressive stable.
Oh, Punk and Lesnar are. I'm not sold on Axel, and I think McIntyre. They tried with him. I mean, he was one of those guys that they pushed to the moon right away, and you just thought, okay, he's future WWE champion because they said so. He's going to be one of those guys. And it never happened for some reason. I don't know what happened, but apparently they lost faith in him or something. I don't know. But he went from, like, future main eventer that we all saw coming a mile away to jobber. And I still don't know what happened.
He had potential. I mean, when they brought him in there, you mentioned they clearly wanted to push him, but something behind the scenes must have happened, or either that or...
Well, I know there was something with, because he was married to, we talked about her earlier, Taryn Terrell. He was married to her, and apparently she had some big blow-up at a hotel or something. I don't know what all the details were, but apparently that blow-up led to the end of their marriage and to Drew getting a serious push in the WWE. I don't know how true that is, but yeah.
Well, it's kind of like Rhino getting fired for a big blow-up at a hotel. Oh, he threw a vase. Well, how big was this vase? Because, like, so what? It's a vase. They sell vases at the dollar store. What's the big deal? Like, what the hell was this vase? Everybody says, he threw a vase. It's like, so what?
Orton trashes hotel rooms all the time.
Yeah, Orton probably kicked the crap out of a flat-screen TV and then threw it out the window. Jimmy Snuka threw his girlfriend out the window. What's your point?
Jimmy Snuka killed a girl.
Yeah, but she jumped out of the hotel window.
Oh, that what happened? I thought.
Yeah.
I thought she died of a drug overdose.
Well,
in the room, and that's what happened.
She was high as a kite, or well.
I'm sure. Well, if you jump out a window, somebody was high. Either he was high when he threw her, or she was high when she jumped. Yeah, exactly.
Apparently, she could not touch the sky.
Oh no.
She thought about it every night and day. And then she pulled out her gun. Sorry. Anybody who watches South Park might get that reference.
Yeah, I get it.
There you go. Anyway, so what was next on... by the way, that's an example there of Taryn Terrell. She went nuts in a hotel room, and what's her character in TNA? She's kind of the combustible element. You know, you piss her off enough, and she freaking explodes and can kill you. So,
yeah,
again, play to what they really are. She's combustible. She's the hot mess, if you will, which just reminds me of a Jack in the Box burger, but there you go.
Hot mess. See, those are the girls you need to stay away from. Anybody, it's like AJ's character. For the guys that say, oh, crazy chicks are hot. No, they're not. I'm just, no, you don't want them.
Crazy chicks are hot to look at, but don't get in a relationship with them.
No, never put your dick in a crazy chick.
Never put your dick in a crazy chick. Patrick's exact quote.
Yeah, no, it's totally true.
Any comment?
Just don't do it. Trust me, it will not be worth it.
My wife, who is
cleaning
a
up
crazy
blood
chick.
and getting a new cell phone just to get away from her. I mean, trust me, it won't be worth it.
My wife, who is a crazy chick, just gave me the finger and then just said, think of the fun that you'd miss. So, anyway, what was next on the card?
We have the World Heavyweight Championship. It'll be Alberto Del Rio versus the returning Dolph Ziggler, who, again, he's another one. Got a concussion. I hope everything's okay with him, but it looks like he's ready to go. So,
yeah,
that's
Dolph
good to hear.
Ziggler's got a lot going on his plate right now. He's posting shots at WWE on Twitter, and he's.
Is that a work or is that legit?
No, they asked him. Somebody was being a smartass to him on Twitter, and he said, so what exactly is a show-off? Define show-off. And he says, a catchphrase the writing team insists you say instead of saying anything of substance.
Okay.
So that was the swipe he took at them, which I thought was very funny. He's doing a stand-up comedy tour right now, which is actually very cool that he's got that going for him too. Apparently he's a funny guy, so good for him.
He doesn't look like a stand-up comic. That's interesting.
Apparently he's got a real wit to him, so.
Okay.
Hopefully that works out, because I've seen bad stand-ups before, and you don't want.
Oh well, yeah. And then I've never when I see a bad stand-up act, I really do feel sorry for the comic, because it's like, oh, poor guy, because it's like, what do? If you know you're bombing, and you have to go out there for 30 minutes or an hour, and I don't know what you do.
I don't know. I mean, mercifully, the ones that make it to television and things are the ones that usually are decent. But they're even on television. There's ones that just bomb, and you just kind of, damn. I wish you were
poor
better.
Guy.
Yeah, this is something that your kid's gonna ask you, Dad, did you do this when you were my age or something like that? And you'll be like, you're gonna be embarrassed by it for the rest of your life. Anyway.
Yeah.
So,
Dolph Ziggler, I think he retains the title just because.
Oh, no doubt about it. I mean, it's a freaking travesty if he doesn't. I don't see any reason to put it on Alberto. And Dolph's coming back, and he's been gone almost as long as CM Punk has. So theoretically, he's going to get a good pop just because people have missed him.
Well, keep him on the shows, and we'll get right into that. That's the next match, actually. It'll be Chris Jericho versus the returning CM Punk. Keep in mind, the show is going to be in Chicago, so they are going to be mad into Punk.
They're going to be into Punk. They're going to be a little bit of a contrarian crowd to what people want. I mean, it's going to be debatable who they're going to cheer for in the main event. I think they might just boo them both.
Probably.
But it's going to be a contrarian crowd. People have to prepare themselves for that.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
Ziggler's going to be the babyface, too. Obviously not as much as Punk. Punk is going to be the babyface. And they're expecting that, too, which is going to be interesting because they're not in Chicago the next night. So the question is, do you have Punk be the babyface that night, but the next night after that go back to being a Paul Heyman kind of guy? Or does Punk now go back to the ice cream bar-wanting, pipe bomb-dropping babyface that broke through a year ago or a year and a half ago?
Right. I don't know. It'll be interesting. I do think that they're bringing Punk back a little too soon. I would have liked for him to stay gone for a few months, just to let him rest up and.
Yeah, let him go till SummerSlam or so.
Right. That's what I would have done, and maybe what I probably would have done at this show, just because it is in Chicago, hype up an appearance from CM Punk that he's going to cut a promo just to let people know where he's been and what he's doing. And just build a lot of mystery around that. That's what I would have done.
Following around the hockey team, from what I can gather, and various rock bands.
Probably. Yeah, but I do think that this is going to be the best match on the show because, they are going to be in Chicago, and you know the caliber of the talent of CM Punk and Chris Jericho. So I think the energy and the combined talent involved is going to result in a very, very, very good match.
Yeah, I think Punk goes over, but I think it'll be a very interesting match.
Oh yeah. Oh, there's no doubt in my mind Punk goes over. I mean, that would be insanely stupid if he didn't.
Absolutely. Right now, I mean, the thing about this card is most of the predictions we've made have been with passion. We choose who we choose. There's not been many of, it could go either way. Nobody really cares. It's been...
Well, it's not so much even passion. It's just like, well, it should be that way because what's the value in the other option?
There you go. Yeah.
So, yeah, it's one of those things where it's like, well, it'd be kind of dumb if you didn't have it go that way.
Exactly.
And the one we didn't care about was the IC title match because, who cares about the IC title?
Yeah, but was next the main event on this one?
Yes, the main event, John Cena versus Ryback in a 3 Stages of Hell match. First fall will be a lumberjack match, which is kind of strange. Second match will be a tables match, and the third fall, which we all know will happen, will be an ambulance match.
Yeah. I mean, Cena wins. He gets over his post-WrestleMania hurdle. Yeah, this one's lost its steam big time, and it's time to just put it to bed.
Yeah, you know what? I would probably, and this feeds into my Daniel Bryan love, where I love Daniel Bryan's character so much right now that it's like, I'd have him go for it. I would probably have Ryback win the title, and then eventually set up a feud between Daniel Bryan and Ryback, which they'll probably do anyway, even without the title, but that's just me being a Daniel Bryan fanboy. But I agree with you. Like, this feud is just so... It feels like Ryback's entire heel turn has just felt extremely forced, where they did it just to give Cena somebody to work with. And that's part of my problem with the Daniel Bryan heel turn. It's like, where's the value in the Daniel Bryan heel turn? Oh, well, Cena will have someone to work with. And again, it's kind of like getting your win back. I don't like that mentality. I would like for you to actually come up with something with a little bit more substance. And Ryback, because they do this to all their heels, it's like, oh, well, he's a coward, so we got to put him in a lumberjack match because he's going to run away, but now he can't run away because of the lumberjack match. And I'm like, how on earth is Ryback a coward? He's the one isn't he the one that slammed Cena through a wall last month? Or was that me? Did I imagine that? Like, shouldn't Cena be, like, fearing for his safety against this guy?
Yeah, I mean, it's really, when WCW did a similar thing, and they called it the Triple Threat Theater, which was at that infamous sold-out pay-per-view where the shit literally hit the fan. And I don't mean, when I say literally, I'm pretty sure somebody's shitting through it at a fan backstage. I don't think that was the most fucked up pay-per-view that wrestling ever had. Essentially, for those who don't know, Bret Hart got a concussion that week. Russo got fired, and half the roster quit. So that entire pay-per-view was just a gigantic clusterfuck. It was supposed to be a triple threat theater between, who was it? It was going to be Jeff Jarrett and somebody. I can't remember even who he was wrestling. But
what year was that? Was that sold out 2000?
2000. Yeah, that was that was January 2000, and it just was horrible. They ended up doing a triple threat theater with like Kidman against a bunch of guys, because Kidman was the guy who I guess they got to agree to stay, and who they were going to push, and then they never really did that until Russo returned and did the thing with Hogan. But it just, bizarre. The only good thing about that was that Jeff Jarrett can't pronounce theater right, so it was triple threat theater, which I don't know why, but that amuses me. The actual, it's going to be fine. I don't honestly see them taking the belt off Cena. I think he's going to overcome this hurdle. Unfortunately, I do think you're going to get Cena and Daniel Bryan, but I think Bryan's going to be the heel. And
which, again, is a mistake.
Yep, I agree. But, I think that's the only thing we've really differed on is the main event. I think Cena
I wouldn't be surprised if Cena won. I mean, that's just the way it is. Because, Big Bad Monster falls to John Cena. Never seen that before. But, I totally agree with you. Cena's probably going to win. But if it were up to me, I would give it to Ryback, just to set up Daniel Bryan.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll see if we're right. And everybody who hasn't seen it already, check it out on pay-per-view tomorrow night, WWE Payback, and we'll be back next week to discuss it more. As a closure on this show, we're going to actually air the TNA teleconference with Rampage Jackson, which is something we were a part of. I didn't actually ask any questions, but I was there, and I have it recorded, so it's going to be the Rampage Jackson TNA teleconference just to close us out here, and hope everybody enjoyed the show. Anything else you want to say before I let you go?
That's it. I hope everybody enjoyed the George the Animal Steele interview and our somewhat incoherent ramblings, but we tend to be a little bit more focused this time. I hope you all enjoyed that, and enjoy your Father's Day.
I will. Thank you very much. Happy Father's Day to everybody out there. Have a good night, everybody.
Later.
Bye.
Hey, this is Chris Jericho of Fozzy, and you're listening to the Interactive Interview. And remember, we are huge rock stars.
Good day, everyone. Welcome to today's Rampage Jackson conference. Today's call is being recorded. And for opening remarks and introductions, I'd like to turn the call over to Mr. David Schwartz. Please go ahead, sir.
Thanks so much. Very exciting to be here. Thank you all for joining us for the Rampage Jackson press conference call. Before we begin, just want to let you know that a transcript will be available in a few hours, so if you need a copy, please email myself or my esteemed colleagues Anthony Mazuka or Beth Gephardt. And without further ado, I'd like to turn it over to Spike TV President Kevin Kay.
Thanks, Dave. So thanks, everybody, for being here in the room. Thank you all for being on the phone. I'm really thrilled to be sitting here with a partner from Bellator, Bjorn Rebney. We have Dixie Carter, the president of TNA, our other great partner, on the phone. And we are announcing today, what you probably read about yesterday, some huge news for Spike, for Bellator, and for TNA. We are joining forces with one of the biggest names in the history of mixed martial arts, a movie star, and just somebody that I have nothing but an enormous amount of respect for, Quentin Rampage Jackson, and he is sitting here with us as well. And thank you for being here. This is sort of a homecoming for Rampage in a lot of ways. His fight on Spike in 2007 against Dan Henderson delivered 6 million viewers. It was the highest-rated fight ever on Spike. His season coaching on The Ultimate Fighter on Spike was the highest-rated season in the history of The Ultimate Fighter on Spike. So the partnership that we're announcing today is going to include Rampage fighting in the Bellator cage. He's going to be competing on TNA wrestling on Impact. It's a game-changing deal, and it adds tremendous star power to both Bellator and to TNA, and we're excited about that. We're also going to be producing a 4-part reality series with Rampage, and we're working out sort of the creative and the details on that, and we'll have more on that in the days ahead, but that'll all lead up to Rampage joining us here on Spike. Rampage is going to be appearing on Guy's Choice, which is Wednesday, June 12th. I'm shooting that this weekend. We're excited about that. Another big benefit of being in the Spike and the Viacom family is that we have a great relationship with Paramount Pictures, and we took Rampage over there to meet those guys, and they're excited to work with him, and we're developing a script with Rampage on some potential movie ideas. There's just nothing but opportunity. Our goal is to build the Rampage brand and just make it as big as it deserves to be and can possibly be. I'd like to turn it over next to our great colleague and great partner, Dixie Carter, president of TNA Impact.
Thanks, Kevin. Very excited to be with you guys here today. We all know Rampage is a global star. TNA is a global product. And, we're looking for him to make the same impact in our world the way he impacted the MMA world. The question is, can he dominate TNA the way he's dominated in MMA? And that's our hope. I can tell you he's very confident that will be the case, and that makes me pretty confident that will happen as well. He's a tremendous talent, but really he's got a big personality. And Kevin just talked about, the kind of success that he has brought to the ratings at Spike, and we're confident that talent and personality is really the perfect fit for us at Impact. I want to be very clear, he's very serious about his deal with TNA. He's committed to doing whatever it takes to be the best at what we do, and I'm excited about that. This is a unique partnership and is innovative. 2013 is a big strategic growth year for us, and we're in this expansion process on the show and in different things we're getting involved in. This relationship works perfectly for us. We're going to be supporting and working closely with Spike, with Bellator, with Paramount as we build Rampage, and I'm very, very confident that he, pun intended, is going to have the kind of impact on our show that we all think he can. In fact, he will actually be joining us on Impact. We're Impact Live tomorrow night. We're live from Atlanta, and we're in a brand new time slot on Spike. It's from 9 to 11, 2 hours on Eastern Time. And so we're very excited to see him for the first time on our stage. So that will be exciting and interesting as well. So that's really it from me to start with. So I get the pleasure right now of introducing someone who I enjoy working with tremendously, am very excited to take it to another level with Rampage, and that is the chairman and CEO of Bellator, Bjorn Rebney.
Bjorn Rampage.
I got it on the brain.
Thanks, Dixie. A little over 4 years ago, I was sitting in my living room in a house that I used to live in about 2 miles from here. And I was putting the finishing touches on a business plan to build out a mixed martial arts company the way I thought a mixed martial arts company should be run, the way that I thought the format should work. I had a second and then a third on my house. I had borrowed every dollar I could conceivably borrow from everybody who trusted me and some people who didn't to try to get it off the ground. And 4 years later, I'm sitting here with my partner Kevin Kay from Spike Network, with Dixie Carter on the phone from TNA Impact Wrestling, with the entire Spike family, with the whole Viacom team and family behind us. And it's those partnerships, and really all of those partners working together in unison. It's about all those partners working together that give me the opportunity to sit next to this gentleman, Quinn Rampage Jackson, an icon in our sport, one of the best-known combat sports professionals that exists in the entirety of combat sports competition, a guy who has drawn 6 million viewers to fights that he's had on Spike Network, who has been front and center as the main event in some of the largest pay-per-view events that have literally ever taken place in our sport. Really a worldwide icon, a guy who can go anywhere in the world and be recognized just like that, regardless of the language or the culture. So it is, I think the coolest thing about me sitting here today is that while I've got all these great partners today, I get to announce that this gentleman is also joining that list, and I'm proud to say he is now one of my partners and one of our partners. So it's a great pleasure to be able to introduce the newest member of the Bellator, the Spike, the Viacom, the TNA Impact family, Quentin Rampage Jackson.
Oh, man, thank you guys, man. I'm very excited to be a part of this family. Like, man, you guys, you have no idea. Like, this is something that I've been dreaming about and waiting for years. You know, I put in a lot of work in MMA. You know what I'm saying? I've been fighting for like 12 years, and you guys you got to get it. You know, finally we have a promoter that gets it. He's like one of us, like one of the fighters. Like, a lot of people don't understand that, you know what I'm saying, fighters, we're the ones that put our life on the line, and you know what I'm saying, we go out there and put our health on the line to entertain the fans. And sometimes I just, in the past relationships that I had with promoters, I just felt like, you know, sometimes I felt like I wasn't appreciated. But you guys get it. Like, you know what I'm saying, like, you guys, like you said, they setting up so I can do pro wrestling. I always wanted to be a pro wrestler. That's why I got started in there. That's why I started wrestling in high school, because I wanted to be a pro wrestler. You know, that's why I used to fight the way I used to fight when I was younger. I used to slam people and do power bombs and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? And now my dream come true. I get to go to TNA and do some pro wrestling and I always, since I did the little reality show back in the day, I was like, man, I can do this. I can be in front of the cameras and not be shy. You guys set me up to do a reality show and movies. Since I did the 18 movie, I always wanted like to do more movies, and I wanted to be like
Please
like an action
insert media
guy.
to
I always want to
continue.
do action movies, and I think that's cool. I'm a big kid. I like to do all this stuff, and you guys like basically making my dream come true. It makes me feel like all the hard work and all the things I did to my body in the past is all paying off now, and you know, I lost a lot of love for MMA. I'm not gonna lie. I lost a lot of love for MMA back when I was in the UFC. It's kind of like, honestly, they just killed it. They drained it. You know what I'm saying? But this new deal got me so excited, and it instantly brought the love back. You know what I'm saying? I'm just, you know, it's hard to even explain the way I feel right now. I'm just real happy to be a part of this team.
Great. That's awesome.
We are happy to have you.
Yep. Agreed. Yep.
Do we open up for questions?
Sounds good.
Tell Anthony to do it.
Dave Doyle with MMA Fighting. Actually, I have a two-part question for you, Bjorn. One,
Please
when Rampage
insert media to
Bellator, is he
continue.
going to be part of your tournament format? And then my second question would be, back, I think it was at a press conference in Huntington Beach, you had said, I'm kind of paraphrasing here, but it was more or less, we'll bring in Rampage if it's the right fit. You've obviously decided this is the right fit. Can you tell me, you know, just kind of walk us through how you ended up coming to that conclusion?
Yeah. The first part of your question is, look, we sometimes the terminology partnership gets overused, And in our situation, with my situation with Kevin and with Rampage and also with Dixie, it really means how it's defined. A partnership is really the essence of what we're creating here, and it's the essence of what we were able to create with him. So in terms of when the fights are going to occur, who the competition is going to be, I mean, the most kind of uplifting part of what I've gotten through the correspondence that he and I have had, all the communication we've had, is that he's re-energized. And like any of us, we've watched him fight over the years. And he's
Please
one of the most
insert media to continue.
dramatic, powerful fighters that's ever stepped foot in a cage, a ring, any place where people were doing combat. So to hear him say to me, hey, I'm re-energized, I'm back in it. So it's going to be a partnership. Kevin and me and Rampage, Dixie, we're all going to sit down and we're going to figure out when is the right time. When is he optimally ready to compete? It's not going to be about a call that comes into him and says, hey, we got to fight in 30 days against X. It's going to be a partnership. So we don't have an answer to that question right now. We're still banging it around. What made it right was that, and look, these things, when you and I spoke a long time ago, and I think it was at HBO Open, we were sitting down talking, we work on these things for months and months and months. Right. I spent months working with Wolfslayer and with Rampage trying to figure out what the right fit here would be. How could we put together the perfect alliance for him that worked? So it was about putting all those pieces together. It wasn't literally about kind of the old school, well, here's what we would offer you to fight. It was about finding out what he wanted to do and what would get him hugely energized, and then coordinating with all the partners and making it work. So
please
it was
insert media to continue.
Process to go through to make sure that the fit was right, so that he was excited about it. And if he's excited about it, given his tools and personality and persona, then we've got a winner on our hands. So it was just a timing issue.
Josh Gross with ESPN. Rampage, what did you tell Bjorn about fighting, what you had in mind fighting-wise? Because you guys talked a lot about Paramount and a lot about pro wrestling, but I didn't hear a lot about mixed martial arts. What, besides being re-energized, how specifically? What kind of opponents do you expect?
Well, honestly, a lot of MMA fans may criticize me from leaving the UFC because they say like that's where the best fighters are and stuff like that, and there's not a lot of competition in Bellator yet and stuff like that, but I tell those fans, like, it's like ignorance. They don't know. Like, this deal that they gave me is so sweet. Like, MMA don't have a pension like other sports, right? This deal they gave me set me up for the future. And like when other fighters, when they really get down and understand and see this deal that they gave me,
please
I think
insert
a lot of other
media
fighters
to
that are not
continue.
happy with their contract and other shows are going to come to Bellator, and I think the competition is going to come over. And so it's like I told Bjorn, like when my knees and stuff get back close to 100%, I'm ready. I go and fight anybody. I never turned down any fight before in the past, but like it's no secret that I lost 3 fights in a row. It's no secret, and fans only see that. They don't see that, like, okay, I lost to John Jones. Who hasn't that fought that guy? Who hasn't? Then I lost to Ryan Bader because I was injured. I got injured like a month before the fight. But it's the type of person I am. I didn't want to pull out of the Japan card because I love my Japanese fans. Everybody know that. So I still fought, injured, and then my next fight back, I shouldn't even been fighting, but I wanted to get that contract so bad. My knee, it was my first fight after my surgery, right? So I still went out there and I fought. I just got away because I said it's got to be something out here better. And then
please insert media to continue.
I like the guy because you can look him in his eyes and you can tell like the guy, he don't have any ego and he gets it. Like the fighters, what makes the show, right? And when fighters understand this, they're gonna take to him the same way I took to him. They were like, man, this like in Bellator, you don't have to. Like they don't tax you for your sponsors, you know what I'm saying? They help you get sponsors. They don't get mad at you for doing movies. They get you movies. These guys, I know I wrote a movie a couple years ago, and I sat down with Andy Goodman of Paramount Pictures, and I pitched the movie to him. Like, oh man, I like that. He liked the movie my idea. And, like I want to make an MMA movie that no one's ever made before. A lot of people view MMA, but they never had a fighter put his touch on the MMA movie. These guys, they down with me, you know what I'm saying? And these guys brought me a nice car, man. I'm like, man, I'm happy, man. You already know it. I'm happy, man. When other fighters hear how they treat you over here, then like I think the competition's going to come over. And then, I'll be fighting, whoever again, just like that. But like Bjorn know that I'm rehabbing my knee. He don't care if he's like in the UFC, they don't care. You go out there and you fight. Like a lot of times when you have surgery, you should come back and have a warm-up fight. But UFC don't care about you like that. He care more about my long term. He's like, you know what I'm saying? Like, before I was talking about retiring probably at 35, which is like in a couple of days. You know what I'm saying? Now with what we talking about stuff like that, man, I got at least like 4 or 5 more years in me, because if I'm injured and stuff like that, he's like, okay, so heal up, take your time out. He's not rushing me to fight at all. He wants me to rehab my knees, and that's what I've been doing. I haven't been running. I've just been lifting weights and rehabbing my knee and getting everything straight so I can come back hard, because now I finally got the love back, and I'm thinking about going to heavyweight because, you know, so I'm older now. I want to start smashing some big guys, you know what I'm saying? What I want to do is come.
Please insert media to continue.
With all the negativity gone, and be myself and go out there and just entertain the fans. Like, you know, I've done a lot in this sport, you know what I'm saying? I think a lot of fans forget that I'm the first ever unified champion, you know what I'm saying? That's my most proud achievement in this sport, you know what I'm saying? I did that. And I was champion stuff before. Now, I don't really care about it. I just want to entertain the fans. I want to come and put on great fights and go to pro wrestling. You know what I'm saying? Over in TNA, those guys they got the best wrestlers over there at TNA. You know what I'm saying? I want to go there and show them what I can do, because I think I'm a natural pro wrestler. People don't know that I used to play around with my old wrestling buddies in high school and college, like a pro wrestler, and do all this. People don't know that about my love for pro wrestling. And I've been watching TNA. They got Sting and Hulk Hogan and stuff over there. Come on. I need to go over there and kick it with them and, you know what I'm saying, learn from the best and put on great shows. I just want to entertain all my fans and hopefully make some new ones.
Just a couple quick follow-ups. So, are you ruling out the
Please insert media to continue.
You've done multi-fight tournaments in one night. I mean, you've experienced that. The three fights in 3 months succession, is that something that you would not want to participate in?
Man, I'm telling you, that's the reason why I chose to go to Bellator. Don't get it twisted. Bellator didn't approach me at all. As soon as I you know, so I had the opportunity, I told my manager, hey man, Bellator got those tournaments. That's kind of like what Pride used to do. That's exciting, man. You know what I'm saying? That's exciting. Those tournaments and stuff like that. That's what caught my eye. You know what I'm saying? I like watching exciting fights. Who don't? Like, honestly, in my opinion, a lot of fights that's going out there right now is kind of boring. People, you know what I'm saying? Fans probably don't know this, but in your contract, if you lose 2 fights in a row, you're in risk of getting cut. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of fighters out there are fighting not to lose, and it's making for a boring fight. You know what I'm saying? So over in Bellator, I'm just watching the guys are exciting fighters, and they're going out there and they're just putting it all on the line, and they got tournaments and stuff like that. There's a lot more going on. They got Spike pushing.
Please insert media to continue.
You know, if you guys been paying attention, Spike is what made the UFC what it was, and you know what I'm saying, with Bellator, and I think Bellator is gonna be the biggest show coming up here pretty soon, because they got the tournament style, and people want to see it. The fans just want to see exciting fights.
George Garcia with MMAJunkie.com. Rampage, sounds like you got an outstanding deal. Can you talk about the free agency process? What was that like? For many athletes, it can be stressful, you know, trying to make their decision as to whether they're going to provide for their family. And for others, it can be fun, you know, being pursued and courted. What was it like for you?
Well, I had like every show come at me, and I either considered doing boxing, and a lot of different promoters came at me and stuff like that, and I just sat back. You know, I wasn't in a rush to go anywhere, and plus I had to wait to negotiate with people anyway. So I just let everybody come to me and my manager.
Please insert media to
I kept
continue.
my own Bellator because I dealt with Spike before. I did the Ultimate Fighters and stuff, and everybody at Spike was super cool, and I watched it, and I started watching Bellator, and I'm like, man, I might want to go to Bellator. That's why I want to lay on Spike. You know, it's a no-brainer. Spike is the network for men. That's what you know. I'm an MMA fighter. When I'm out in the city, I get a bunch of men that come approaching me and stuff like that. That's the place where I want to be, where it's like it's right to the audience that watch our sport, Spike. And so I was like, all right, Bellator's doing good. They got some exciting fights and stuff like that. And so I started talking to my manager about Bellator and stuff like that. And he's like, okay, I'll check it out. So it was pretty simple for me. But you know what I'm saying, I think if the other fighters that are free agents and they come up, I think they might want to look out for Bellator too, because they know how to treat a fight.
Please insert media to continue.
In the UFC, a lot of fans like didn't understand. They think I was talking about money. Oh, UFC didn't pay me enough money and blah 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 and like yeah, you know what I'm saying. Like every fighter, if a fighter stated he don't fight for money, then he's lying. And I've been known to keep it real. And like a doctor, he goes into that field because, yeah, he like helping people and stuff like that. But he also probably like taking his boat out on you know what I'm saying, in the water on the weekend. He want to have nice yacht, nice house for his family and be able to put his kids through college as well. But I'm sure his main motive is to help people. But, you know what I'm saying, he don't want to go broke helping people. You know what I'm saying? I want to entertain people, but I don't want to talk bad about any fighters in the past, but I'm telling you, there's a lot of big name fighters that retired broke, and now they got to go and get a gym and work at a gym. You know, so it's okay to get a gym and train people, but you don't want to have to get a gym and train people. And now that UFC's buying up all the gyms, they take
Please
even
insert
more money
media
out of
to continue.
You know what I'm saying? Like in the fighters in the neighborhood, they got a gym and they got their own gym, and the UFC gym comes to their neighborhood. You know what the fans going to do? They're going to go to their UFC gym and stuff like that. You know, I wanted to have a future after I got done fighting because, you know what I'm saying, you can't fight forever. You know, if you play football, you can't do it forever. And Bellator and Viacom and these guys fight, they understand that. You know what I'm saying? So they set me up to where, like, you know what? Yeah, MMA don't have a pension and stuff like that, but we're smart people. This is going to set you up. Like, how old is Hulk Hogan and Sting? How old are these guys? They still pro wrestling. How old are they? They old. Old dudes. Old dudes. I can be one of those old dudes still entertaining my fans. But until I'm too old now, then I'm just done doing everything. All right, then if the reality show pick up, they can still watch me doing old man stuff because I feel like even when I'm old, I'm still going to be the crazy guy that I am. And if they like to tune in to that, I can still be doing reality shows and still be doing action movies. Arnold Schwarzenegger,
please insert media to continue.
That's right. They still be doing action movies. So they said, I don't see how any other fight organization can even compete with what Bellator has, and I think it's a no-brainer. And if any other fighter is not happy with their contract and stuff like that, you know what I'm saying, they can just watch me and see me smiling all the time, entertaining my fans. Yes, I'm making more money than I was over there, but at the same time, I'm still working, and I'm not in some gym because I have to be. That's not my personality.
Just a couple quick follow-ups. You're rehabbing your knee. Could you be ready for season 9 in the fall, or are we looking at maybe 2014?
No. My knee is actually getting stronger really fast because now I've learned how to rehab it and have some a great team of doctors, like, in Orange County, man. We got Dr. Kessler down there, the OC Fight Docs, man. They know what they're doing, and then I got a good
Please
friend.
Insert media to
Steve
continue.
He's been taking me to the gym and showing me how to do it with weights and stuff like that. And my knee is actually doing pretty good, and I'm finna start running probably like next week. Well, my birthday coming up on the 20th, so
after that.
I'm probably start running like a couple days after that, and I'm gonna take my knee out and start running. Because before, when I was running, just after surgery, it was really bad for the knee. But I'm starting running, and it looks like it's doing really good. It's doing really good. I'm actually surprised on how good it's doing.
Brian Garcia with MMAJunkie.com. You mentioned heavyweight, swinging with the heavyweights. Is that something that you want to maybe look at further down the line, or is that a decision you could make fairly soon?
Well, honestly, it's like, if a good fight come up at 205, you know what I'm saying, I got enough time to get in shape and lose weight to do it with Bjorn, like he said, like, you guys cool, they'll let me know.
Please insert media to continue.
I don't have to take a fight like 8 weeks notice or 13 weeks notice, like, they give me a couple months. Like, okay, I'll fight you at 205, I'll lose weight, but if the guy's a heavyweight, I walk around. I'm a big guy anyway, I walk around and I just know, what I'm saying, like, okay, he's a heavyweight guy, so I don't have to cut weight. So, a lot of small heavyweights do good. So like I said, I'll fight whoever. I've never been the type of guy to turn down fights. So, but it's easier on me now that I'm older to just go heavyweight, I guess. You know what I'm saying? Like, cause I'm 35 in a couple of days. I'm at my prime, but at the same time, it's like, why do something I don't have to. I think heavyweight would be a good move because I like the big guys. I think I'd be faster than them and stuff like that. I don't mind trying to knock out some big guys.
Question for Bjorn: as far as when King Mo and Rampage signed, I'm sure TNA was a big factor. Have you had any guys on the current roster?
Please insert media to continue.
Hey, this is a cool deal here. I'd like to do something like that.
Yeah, I have. I've had a lot of them. It takes a unique combination of factors I mean, Mo's got that combination of factors. Rampage has got those combination of factors. But you've got to have a spectacular wrestling background. You've got to have a love for that game. You've also got to have the ability and the time to learn all the facets of that game. I mean, that's high level competition, and it's a totally different high level competition than what a mixed martial artist is typically used to. So a lot of the Bellator guys have gone to the Impact events. They love it. They've had a great time. A lot of them have come to me and said, I'd love to do a deal like that. And, Dixie and I have sat down and talked about a lot of different options. But, this Rampage's situation is completely unique. Mo's situation was unique. I just can't wait to see the two of them together at Impact. That's going to be something spectacular as well. But, a lot of guys have come to us with it. I mean, it's exciting. It's fun. And it's cross-pollination.
Please insert media to continue.
Kevin and Dixie and I sit down and we talk about it and we figure out where those fits and how do you build the brand. We've talked about it before on your show. Our dynamic is a different one. Our dynamic is one that is focused on building up Quentin Rampage Jackson, King Mo Lawal, Michael Chandler, Pat Curran. It's not about building up the Bellator brand. Those guys are going to pull the Bellator brand along. The Bellator brand is not going to pull them along. So it's a totally different way of looking at it than the competition. And not to say that there's anything wrong with the way that they do it. We just do it a different way. So those opportunities.
And Bjorn, I would add that you have your fighters on our show and we're promoting their fights, and we're on your show, and we're working together in so many ways that has never been done before. That's what really takes this, in my opinion, to another level, especially from a business perspective.
All right, can I add something? Actually, I'm going to have to say something. In Pride, the reason why Pride was so big in Japan, like Pride used to be one of the
Please insert media to continue.
In the world. The reason why they were so huge in Japan, and they can fill like 80,000 seat arenas and stuff like that, because they mixed up with the pro wrestlers. A lot of the Japanese fighters was pro wrestlers. So the thing that you guys doing has proven to work before in the past.
Yeah, in a huge way.
Yeah.
Yep.
Should we go to the phone?
Yeah, Melanie, you can open the queue for questions now. We'll take some calls from the phone.
And ladies and gentlemen, to ask a question over the phone lines, please press *1 at this time. If you are joining using your speakerphone, please make sure that your mute function is turned off to allow your signal to reach our equipment. Once again, everyone, *1 at this time. And we'll go to Jason Floyd with the MMAReport.com.
Thanks for taking my call. First off, Bjorn, I guess the perception out there with a lot of people is that you're not in the business to sign UFC guys, and we've seen you sign several UFC fighters here over the past couple weeks. Why is that?
Well, look, I think
the
dynamic in our industry has changed so substantially over the last 3 years or so. And initially, when I started this company, I looked at what was going on around me and I saw a lot of mistakes. I saw a lot of people just simply trying to build their brand based on the backs of fighters that had left other organizations, predominantly the UFC. We've now built out the Michael Chandlers and the Ben Askrens and the Pat Currans, and the list goes on. And, at this stage in the evolution of our game, there are two players in the space. There's the UFC and there's Bellator, from a worldwide basis and a large-scale television perspective. So there are going to be UFC fighters that matriculate over to Bellator and compete. There are a number of Bellator fighters that have matriculated over to the UFC to compete. They've got, I think, 15 or 20 of our guys that we've cut signed to long-term agreements. We've got, I think, at this stage, 15 or 20 of their guys signed to long-term agreements. So it's just the nature of the game. You're going to see a lot more UFC fighters fighting over here. You're going to see a lot more Bellator fighters fighting over there. There's two big shows in the world today, and that's where the best fighters in the world are going to compete.
For Rampage Jackson, first off, Rampage, you talked about how the UFC drained your love for MMA. Is there anything in particular they did that drained your love for the sport?
Well, the only thing I really can go into is no big secret, but when I did the movie A-Team, that's like how Dana and I we kind of like fell out, and it caused a whole bunch of problems. But I'm on a contract where I can't really go into details. But you know what I'm saying, like the UFC, you can ask them and they can say I'm not going to sue them if they talk about it. I signed a disclosure where I can't talk about it, and that's all I can say on that. But I've been pretty boisterous about things in the past. But I guess you guys can see from what I'm saying, like it goes all the way back to my fight with Rashad Evans. You know what I'm saying, it's been since then when I lost my love.
Please insert media to
for MMA,
continue.
and I actually tried to retire and stuff a couple of times. And actually, I'm glad I didn't now because, I wasn't psychic, but thank God I didn't, and now this great opportunity happened for me.
Do you have a timetable in your head of when you want to fight next?
Like I said, I think my knee is a lot stronger now. I think I'm actually I think I'd be good to go in a couple of months. I just as long as I got like 3 or 4 months to start getting to serious training and get my skills up. I'm working on everything now. I've been in actually. I went to Mexico. I got me a place down there, some cool gyms stuff down there to get away from California, and I got a bunch of friends who love nightclubs. I hate them. I don't know why they invite me to nightclubs all the time because I hate those things. So I go to Mexico and I train. I've been working with my teammate Gavin Stewart, and we've been working on a lot of Muay Thai and a lot of different stuff that I haven't been doing
Please
for a while.
Insert media to continue.
I got addicted to knocking people out, and I kind of forgot about my wrestling and my Muay Thai and stuff. So I'm excited. I've been working on a lot of different stuff, my ground game, and so as long as I got like 4 months to keep brushing up on this type of stuff, the new stuff that I'm working on again, and I'll be ready to go. I'll be happy to go, and after then,
All right, thanks, guys.
Mm-hmm.
We'll go next to Steve Jones with Wrestling Observer.
Thank you, operator. My first question is for Bjorn Rebney. It was widely reported yesterday that Czech Congo signed with Bellator, a teammate of Rampage's at Wolf Slayer. Can you confirm that for us?
No, he has not. Very talented fighter, great personality, fun to watch fight. I've watched him fight for years, but he has not signed with Bellator.
All right, thank you. Are any other Wolf Slayer fighters then coming in? If not Congo, any others that Rampage is teammates with?
Yeah, I mean,
Please
part of the
insert
magic
media to
of
continue.
this relationship is that I got to spend literally months working with the team at Wolf Slayer, and they've got a terrific stable of talent. And you're going to see some announcements coming out in the not-too-distant future, literally within the next couple of weeks, about more Wolf Slayer talent that's going to be coming into Bellator. We've got some big things. Kevin and I have got some big things happening in the UK, some huge things happening in the UK that we're really excited about, that we'll be announcing in short order as well. And Wolf Slayer obviously is a mainstay on the UK MMA scene and is one of the preeminent forces there. So there'll be a collection of Wolf Slayer fighters coming over here.
All right, cool. One more question for you, and then I'll go to somebody else on the line. I wanted to know, with the change in Impact Wrestling moving back to 9 p.m. Eastern, we've heard about the strategic synergy with everybody on the line talking about Bellator, Spike, Impact working together. Obviously, this changes when Bellator is going to be able to air live, so what was the decision-making on that, and do you know
Please
when the new night
insert
will be
media
for
to
Bellator
continue.
MMA?
I'll take that one. No, we know when the June 19th fight is, and the July 31st fight is, and the September 7th fight are. But beyond that, we're just still evaluating and assessing, what is going to be the best night. There's a lot of competition out there, and we felt it was important to move Impact back to 9 o'clock for the summer and going forward. So it's a better time slot. For Impact, it's its old time slot. So we still have some work to do there. We'll probably announce that shortly.
All right, thanks, Kevin. And Dixie, I want to congratulate you on the success of Slammiversary. And since Rampage is making his debut on Impact Wrestling tomorrow night, I just wanted to know, do you think he's going to immediately be involved in the Aces and Eights scenario, or do you think he'll be like a lone wolf, no pun intended?
Well, I wouldn't mind if he came in and took them out. But no, I think you'll have to stay tuned and find out.
Please
I wanted to comment on
media
something
to
too about the two worlds. I mean, I've got 3 ways of getting new talent myself, and that's from the WWE, a free agent such as Rampage, or develop somebody that takes years and years to do. And so we're faced with that same challenge. And so he's going to be coming in on Thursday, like you said, and but he's got a lot of training to do. He's got a huge commitment that he's made to me and this sport to take it seriously. But I know when he does come in, it will be in a big way.
All right, well, that leads to my questions for Rampage. And first of all, I wanted to ask him, when we talked in January in Chicago, he said that he felt that the fans had never embraced him fully in UFC. So to Rampage, do you feel this is a fresh start for you? Do you think now that the fans will see you on Spike again, that they'll really get behind you in Bellator and Impact?
Well,
Please insert
media
to continue.
Outsider. It's no secret to me that the UFC only signed me for that Chuck Liddell fight back in the day, and people that really know me know I was like a very fan-friendly guy until I kind of like went to the UFC, and it kind of dulled my senses to a lot of fans when they booed me for knocking a guy out and egged my house and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of hard to swallow sometimes when you have a passion for a sport and the main objective is to knock someone out, and you do that and you get so much negativity from it. And over the years, since I did the Ultimate Fighter and stuff like that, the fans got to know me, got to know my personality and see what type of person I am. And a lot of fans, they meet me and stuff like that, they're cool. They're cool. They're really cool people. So you can't punish all the fans just for a few negative people and stuff like that. But me going over here to Bellator and stuff like that,
insert media to continue.
Get to know these fans. I'm assuming most of the fans are the same MMA fans. I'm an MMA fan. I watch wherever the exciting fights go. So I don't know really how to answer your question. Fans are fans. I love all my fans, but I don't love all MMA fans. Let's put it that way. I keep it real on that. I love all my fans. I do anything for them, but if a fan don't like me, okay, I'm still going to do my job and try to be one of the most entertaining fighters out there, no matter where I go. And since I'm here at Bellator, I like this deal. I ain't going nowhere else. So this is the last promotion I will ever fight for, and they better get used to me. If they don't like me, oh well.
Cool. And as a quick follow-up, are you going to be dividing your training time between Wolf's Lair and Ohio
Please
Valley Wrestling
insert
to get down
media
the wrestling
to
side,
continue.
or are you going to do just all of one or all of the other?
I'm gonna do it all. I'm gonna do both. It's like a lot of fans don't understand this, but like sometimes you have a training camp. When I'm in training camp, I set aside like 2 months to train for a fight. It's 12 months in a year, and the other time I could be going and training for pro wrestling. So on my downtime, and that's actually good for me because sometimes after my fights, I just go and just be a regular human being. I forget I'm even an athlete, and I just eat whatever I want and do whatever. And for me, staying and training, that's good for me. Hopefully I'll look sexy year round and get more ladies.
Thank you very much, Rampage, and Zapella, June 20th, happy birthday coming up.
Thanks, bro.
You too.
Thank you.
We'll go next
Please
to
insert media
Elias
to continue.
Zapata with CagePotato.com.
Thanks for having me on, and thanks for the time, Rampage, and congratulations on the new deal. Got two questions for you. I remember interviewing you over the phone years ago, near the end of your Pride run, and then again after you had signed with the UFC, and it strikes me that you sounded similar at that time to what you do now. You were at the time talking about how happy you were UFC and how they helped you out a lot and stuff, and yet you left pretty disappointed, obviously, with them, it sounds like. Does a part of you worry that this can happen again this time around? Or what's different about it in your sense?
Well, honestly, like, I remember when with Dana first signed me and stuff like that, and I was really excited. Like the Pride, I was really disappointed in the way they treated me. You know what I'm saying? They treated me really bad. Like a lot of stuff I was boisterous about them, but a lot of stuff I just kept.
Please
to myself,
insert media to continue.
The person I am, you know what I'm saying? But I am pretty much an open book. I do tell it how it is, and in the beginning, that's how it is with a lot of relationships. You know, you get a new girlfriend, you all happy, you all made up, you all making out and stuff all the time, stuff like that. And after a while, you know what I'm saying, things get stale. You don't even tongue kissing no more. You just give a little peck on the peck. You know what I'm saying? And the UFC, you know, I was still around, but ever since I did that 18 movie, it's like I cheated on them. It's like I cheated on them. And so I'm saying, and like over here, like. I don't see any way I could cheat on Bellator, because it seemed like, you know what I'm saying, they with Viacom. They got me all set up, you know, it's all in-house and stuff like that. So, and I learned a lot from being in other organizations, and like Bjorn said here, it's kind of like we're partners and stuff like that. So it's like these guys treat me really good. I'm telling you, you guys would be surprised, man. I don't know how much y'all know about Bjorn, but he gets it, man.
Please insert media to continue.
Stuff like that, and I've been looking for a promoter like this guy for a long time. He gets it. He knows that he couldn't put the two Bellator logos in a cage and have a bunch of people show up and watch the two Bellator logos go at it. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to say no names, but some people out there think that, you know what I'm saying, their logo is the shit. You know what I'm saying? People just come in and tune in for their logo, and that's not true. So, yeah, I see me being happy with these guys for the rest of my career, because, you know, so I can just feel it. And you're right. I was super happy when I went to the UFC. I've done a lot of favors for the UFC, and sometimes, you know, I didn't get my favors back to me like you do. Like sometimes you, like for instance, like when I fought Keith Jardine right after I fought Vanderlei, that was a favorite. That was a favorite for. If I would have lost that fight, like after I fought Vanderlei, I was supposed to get a title fight right back. But they said, "Oh, we need a favor. Come fight Keith Jardine."
Please insert media to continue.
And I'm like, but what if I lose? What my title shot goes? Like, and then if you guys notice, it took me years to even get a title shot back when they got the monster called John Jones, a little grapevine-looking tall dude. There ain't nobody beating. I'm like, damn, look, my chance to be champion again and put me in with an unbeatable guy. The guy was one of the best fighters in my weight class, and so, you know, it's like sometimes it's like, you know, it kind of like mess up the relationship. Then you just stop making out with your girlfriend. You just give her a kiss. Oh, good night, baby. You get a kiss on the cheek. And that's what it's like. But me and Bellator, we tongue kissing right now, baby.
Second question, Quentin, and thanks for that answer. Second question, I was wondering about all this exciting stuff. Like you said, they're setting up a lot of cool stuff, and certainly no longtime fan can argue that you haven't, and a lot of guys like you haven't earned that type of opportunity where you can make a living from doing some other things in addition to just fighting, because that's got to be a hell of a way to make a living. The movies, you know, the TV show, pro wrestling, which that can't be easy on the body either, but, you know, have other opportunities. You've earned that. But I'm curious, since you're going to be fighting still, do you worry at all that as you're working on all these other exciting stuff, that maybe you won't have the focus once you do get back to it? Or I mean, I'm sure you've thought about that. It's got to take a lot of focus to get in there and fight at a high level like you do. How are you sure that you'll be focused when it's time to fight in the way you need to?
Well, like a lot of people misunderstand things. Like people thought since I did a movie, I wasn't focused on fighting no more. I turned to a superstar, and you know, so I didn't want to fight. I didn't want to fight no more and stuff like that. People always assume things, and one thing that you misunderstanding is that I'm here to entertain people. I've done a lot in this sport, and I come from the Pride generation where it's entertainment first. So I know that realistically I probably won't win all my fights in Bellator. But I'd be damned if I won't entertain people. I'm going to come over and put on the most exciting fights. As soon as the American fans start understanding that, like, the two guys in the cage, one guy has to lose. And then when American fans understand that, then you can really appreciate and respect MMA the way the Japanese fans and people from all over the world respect it. It's just Americans, like, we have different way of thinking. You know, so there's nothing wrong with that. We're different from everybody else. But my main job is to entertain the fans. Would I have as many fans as I do now if I was the type of fighter who goes out there and plays it safe and just make sure I win all my fights? Or, you know what I'm saying, I go out there, a lot of times I go out there and I try to do a exciting fight, and I end up winning, but, you know what I'm saying, times I could have lost, like with Kevin Random, he almost knocked me out, but that was an exciting fight. You know what I'm saying? You put it on the line, that's my style. You know what I'm saying? Like, my name was given to me when I was a kid because of the type of person that I am. You know what I'm saying? So that's my personality. So what I'm saying is I'm going to be very focused to get in the cage and make sure the fans are very entertained. If I don't win, so be it. That's what I have. My losses hunt me for the rest of my life. But the fans, as long as they're entertained, it was a good fight then, and I did my job. That's what I get paid to do, is to entertain the fans.
Hey, thanks a lot for the time, and all the best, and congratulations.
Thanks.
And we'll go next to Mike Johnson with PW Insider.
Hey, everybody. How you guys doing?
Hi, Mike.
How are you, Dixie? There's been a lot of talk about when Rampage is going to be able to fight again. What's the timeline in terms of getting to training for pro wrestling and doing some regular appearances for TNA? It's been about a year since Mo was signed, and we've only seen him a couple of times in TNA, and he didn't even have his first wrestling match until about a month ago in Ohio Valley. So I was curious, one, what the timeline is for Rampage on the wrestling side of things, and then how you guys, as a group, may have learned from the Mo experience over the last year and parlayed that into the deal with Rampage.
I think with Mo, we were, his injury took him a while longer to get back than, any of us had anticipated. But the most important thing is that, he did come back healthy and, not rush things. And then, he had a training period as well. And then it worked out that he went straight into the tournament after that. So the last few months he has been training hard. I'm getting great reports on him. But as far as, Rampage is concerned, he's going to start right away. He will be appearing on our show. But his training, whether it be at OVW or in Southern California, where he'll be set up with a training team as well. But he'll be committed to that, and he'll be in, I would expect, much sooner than later.
So just a quick follow-up for Rampage. Obviously, you mentioned being a big wrestling fan. So what are the big memories for yourself in terms of falling in love with that genre?
Well, I'm from Memphis, and I used to watch pro wrestling with my dad and my older brother, and we used to go down to Monday night wrestling at the Coliseum, and we used to wake up on Saturdays. And my brother used to write to the Channel 5 news station and get free tickets. They give the people free tickets, and I've actually been to some of the shows and stuff. Like I knew the Undertaker when he was the Master of Pain, you know what I'm saying? And he was growing up. He was one of my favorite pro wrestlers. He had the craziest move, and that I'm going to try to do in pro wrestling. I don't know if I'm strong enough to do it, but the Undertaker, he was a big scary man. He's tall, as a kid. You know what I'm saying? I used to love watching him wrestling, and come on, Jerry Lawler's from there and everything, and I remember Jeff Jarrett and stuff when I was a kid and everything, and I always been a big Hulk Hogan fan, a Sting fan, and I was the Ultimate Warrior 2 years in a row on Halloween. Can you imagine that? You know what I'm saying? I used to bench press my friends when I was a kid. I used to be bigger than everybody. I was strong. You know what I'm saying? I can't wait to go in and get in pro wrestling. Like, what you guys don't understand, like this deal that I just signed, like it allows me to be a big kid all year round. I just go and have fun. You know what I'm saying? Train for fights and go out there and fight and go and do pro wrestling, train for pro wrestling, and just be a big kid and have a reality show that can give you guys backstage passes to all this stuff and my crazy life what goes on. Like, you know what I'm saying? I'm like 15 years old in my head, and you guys get to see all this stuff, and I'm just enjoying it. I can't wait to go out there and go to TNA and show them people what's up. I'm super excited.
All right, one last question, then I'll let you go. Let somebody else jump on. What are you most looking forward to with your appearance tomorrow on Impact?
Well, I just want to go and meet the guys and meet the writing team and then see how soon I can get started. And I just want to go and meet some of the wrestlers and stuff like that. I'm a fan of those guys. I might be getting some pictures for my Instagram, but this for the gram. You know what I'm saying? I'm just excited to go out there and meet everybody.
All right. Well, I hope the journey's fun for you. Stay healthy, and we look forward to seeing you fighting and see what comes of the TNA deal as well. So thank you for your time.
Thanks.
Thanks, Mike.
Our next question comes from Steven Morocco with MMAJunkie.com.
Hey, question for Rampage. Have you talked with Mo since you struck this deal with Bellator?
Yeah, you know what? I talked to Mo, and it only makes sense that Mo's an MMA fighter. He's a wrestler. I'm an MMA fighter. I'm a wrestler. We both going into pro wrestling. So me and Mo, we actually thinking about teaming up and being tag team partners over there in TNA. You know what I'm saying? I think we can change the game up. Me and Mo, we didn't see eye to eye in the past, You know what I'm saying? I thought I was gonna have to put a whooping up on Mo. You know what I'm saying? I ain't gonna lie. I thought I was gonna have to whoop up on Mo. You know what I'm saying? But Mo is actually, you know what I'm saying? He a cool guy. You know what I'm saying? But but I can only take him for a little small, some periods of time. But you know what I'm saying? We tag team partners. Maybe that might, you know what I'm saying, bring two different types of guys together. Who knows? We might end up being best friends one day. Who knows?
What does that mean for a potential fight between you guys? A lot of people think that that's the most marketable fight that you can make in terms of MMA.
Well, who knows what the future? Who knows what the future holds, man? I fought friends before. Like Dan Henderson was a great friend of mine. And when I fought him, I used to help him train for his fight and stuff like that and everything. It's like things happen. MMA, it's a job. Like you go out there. Sometimes you just want to show that you're the best. Like, you know what I'm saying? We alphas, man. Fighters, we're alphas. And sometimes, you know what I'm saying, you want to see if you're more alpha than that next guy. So, we may be tag team in pro wrestling, but if, you know what I'm saying, it works out or we can get the fans what they want and we have to fight each other, then maybe we might fight each other. But at the same time, I don't know.
Is there a time component to this deal, or is it is there any specific set length of time that you're obligated to Bellator and TNA, and or is it just a specific number of fights and appearances?
See, you got to ask my manager all this stuff. I don't deal with all that. All I know is that we finna change the game up. You guys have no idea y'all can't even comprehend what's going on right here. It's gonna take y'all a couple of months and y'all see, that's why he left the UFC. It's going to hit y'all like one day when y'all see what happens. Y'all can't even comprehend. It's on. We finna change the game up. You guys have no idea.
Any teasers on what you've been talking about with Paramount? Is it still in the action genre, or is it working with anybody you've worked with in the past?
I said it's going to be like it's going to be an MMA movie. That's what we talked about, and it don't stop there. That's the first thing. I don't, so I never really tell nobody, but I've written like 2 movies, and I like them both a lot, you know what I'm saying? But it's up to other people to like them. But I've tested the market with other people, and I let them read it, and they're like, wow, and people can't even believe that the second movie that I wrote, that I even wrote that. It's on the next level. But this MMA movie that I wrote, I think it's pretty dope. It's a fun MMA movie, and I'm not going to give it away at all because there'd be a lot of people out there trying to, you know what I'm saying, to kill stuff, you know what I'm saying? I already got it all sealed and dealed and everything, copyrighted and all that stuff. But I think it's an MMA movie that should have been made a long time ago. Hollywood makes. I'm not hating. I'm glad that they did make MMA movies that blow up our sport. But you know what I'm saying? This is an MMA movie from a fighter's mind. So I think it's a lot of areas that they didn't capitalize on that, you know what I'm saying, that I'm going to capitalize on, and I think that the MMA fans will enjoy this movie.
Okay, apologies that I missed that before. One more if I could. Dixie, what's your sense of where Rampage is at, and is it pretty much your assumption that you're starting from square one in terms of his training as a pro wrestler and getting him actually ready to get in the ring and do it on a big stage?
Yeah,
well, I've seen him.
I'm sorry. Oh. My bad. Go ahead.
I've seen him, powerbomb and slam a few people. I think he's got a few of the key skill sets down quite well, I'd say. But no, I think that. I think he's such a gifted athlete, and he does have a lot of wrestling skills, great ground game. I think that he's just going to it's like Bjorn said it perfectly. There's just a different it's a different style, different training, and I think he's going to be great. I don't think it takes a long time. I mean, Kurt Angle, going from Olympic gold medalist into professional wrestling on the level that he did, it took a little bit of time, but Rampage is very committed to getting in there immediately and getting this done, and I think it'll be, like I said before, I think it'll be sooner than later. I can't put a time on it, but I know that he's anxious to get in the ring.
Okay, thanks so much, guys.
And we'll go next to Alex Goff with Online World of Wrestling.
Thank you very much for taking my call. My first question is for Dixie Carter. Dixie, you've definitely taken a lot of chances with TNA Impact Wrestling. Famously, you signed Adam Pac-Man Jones to a similar situation where he's a two-sport athlete. This is your third MMA fighter, Bobby Lashley, Muhammad Lawal being the other two. What are the positives to signing an MMA fighter as far as creating a new audience or retaining an audience between the pro wrestling and mixed martial arts fan bases? And secondly, is there any concerns that the mixture of professional wrestlers and mixed martial arts fighters could cause any unfit criticism of professional wrestlers?
I don't think so at all, and I totally agree with what Rampage is saying as far as, I think for MMA it would be better for it to be more entertaining, and I think that's what Bjorn, when I watch those tournaments, that's what I see more of, and he embraces that, and I think that's what makes it make sense. With Pac-Man, I mean, it wasn't what we had hoped it had been. He bought a ring, it was in his backyard, he had a trainer. The Titans shut us down, but we got a ton of exposure from it. I remember being at a hotel in a sports bar, and every single network, I couldn't go a minute and a half without one of the sports networks running a story on it and talking about it. So at a time when we needed a lot of exposure, that worked for us. Bobby Lashley, we never worked. He did come in and do a wrestling stint with us, but we never got to work with him in a two-sport capacity. So Mo and Rampage will be the first time that we've really done this, and I'll echo what Rampage says. I mean, this is a really unique association between Kevin and Bjorn and myself as it comes to these talented athletes, and we have some pretty big platforms, each of us, but combined it's very, very powerful. And I think from that, when we get this going, you're going to see some exciting things.
Thank you very much, Dixie. My next question is for Quentin. Quentin, the word that you keep repeating throughout this entire press conference is fun. I want to ask you about a word, pressure. Bjorn Rebney has the ability to find young, hungry guys from across the world. Renato Babaluso Brawl and King Muhammad Lawal both experienced losses in their first debuts in Bellator to these young lions. What pressure are you feeling to face these young guys, even at heavyweight, that would love to make a name off a MMA Hall of Famer such as yourself? I don't know if you're in one yet, but certainly you have the credentials to be. And then secondly, TNA Wrestling has set a high standard for professional wrestling, employing legends such as Hulk Hogan and Sting, Kurt Angle, Bobby Roode, James Storm. How, at your age, not that you're old, but at your age, how much pressure are you feeling that you have to now learn a brand new discipline in professional wrestling, and then that you will be, because of your background, expected to perform at a higher level than someone, for example, that TNA gives an opportunity through the Gut Check Challenge?
Man, you give some long questions.
I thought all night about it.
Okay, let me break something down to you. Like, what's wrong with losing if you go out there and you did your job and entertain the fans? What's so bad about losing? Why there's no pressure. There's no that pressure right there. I relieve that pressure already. Like with myself. Like it's just the only thing is after I lost it, I got to hear about it from the fans. But there's no pressure. That's like annoyance. You know what I'm saying? I get annoyed by it. Like, oh, you lost. Oh, so what? You know what I'm saying? I still did my job. I still entertained people. You know what I'm saying? If I go out there, I'm gonna try to knock somebody out. I'm trying to slam people. I'm gonna try to destroy them. But if I get beat in the process, I just hope it's a good fight. So all that pressure's gone. So yeah, it's still fun. It's fun for me to get out there and entertain the fans. And at the end of the day, I'm making my living what I chose to do to provide for my family. And the pro wrestling, yeah, it's a bit about pressure, like out there with the best, like Hulk Hogan and Sting and Kurt Angle and what I'm saying, all those guys. Yeah, but I think it's like a dream come true. Like that's what I want. That's what I wanted to do. Like if you're gonna let pressure stop you from fulfilling your dreams, then you know what I'm saying, you robbing yourself. So that's the last thing I think about is losing and pressure and not doing this and not doing that. I just go and do it.
Thank you very much, Quentin. Just one more follow-up, Quentin. You're saying that losses don't matter so much. Is that experience talking? Because during your rematch against Wanderlei Silva, the loss to Wanderlei seemed to really did affect you. You complained about the tournament format, that he had an easier opponent in Yoshida. You had a harder opponent. Good to go. So is this experience talking? or is this?
I'm okay. Listen, that's something different now. You talking about tournaments? Come on, that's a tournament. I had the chance to go down in history as a guy who beat Vanderlei Silva and Chuck Liddell in one night. Now you bring up that, that loss hurt. You know what I'm saying? I beat the crap out of Chuck Liddell, and my game plan was to take Vanderlei Silva down and beat him up on the ground, and that loss still haunts me from today because, you know, I got stood up, then I got kneed in the face about 15 times, and I lost that fight. And that loss hurt. I was a young man back then, but now, like I said, I've done a lot in this sport. My main focus is to just entertain the fans, and that take a lot of pressure off. And it's guys like you who would never understand that. That's all you think about is win this and that, like who's the best and stuff like that. You know, you entitled to be in that, but you know, at the same time, how many fights have you ever fought?
I was active duty military. I haven't had any professional fights. Glenn, that's not my profession.
I didn't ask you anything about military. I asked you about how many fights have you fought professionally in front of millions of people. It's like if you've done that 40 some odd times like I've done, then you understand where I'm coming from. It's not always about winning and losing anymore. You know what I'm saying? Like when you up and coming, you gotta make a name for yourself. You in a tournament, you want to win. You know what I'm saying? But now, you know what I'm saying? It's like my job is to entertain the fans. I want to give them great fights. I want to win. Don't think I'm gonna come out there and just let people beat me up. That's not me. You know what I'm saying? But if I fall short trying to knock this guy out, trying to destroy this guy, but all I can do is like get up and shake his hand, man. Dude, man, you beat me. It was a good fight. I'm not gonna let
thank you very much.
Stop me.
Hey, Melody, let's take one more question.
All right, we'll go to Eddie Goldman with No Holds Barred.
Hi, thank you very much. Hello, everybody. First question for Rampage. You talked earlier a lot about criticisms you had when you're in the UFC, and numerous present or former fighters in the UFC have been more and more vocal about complaints about the low purses and unfairness and a lot of other things. Do you think that at any point that the fighters should form some type of association or union of their own so that they can have collective bargaining about these contract issues?
Well, you know, like that stuff been talked about for a long time. You know what I'm saying? MMA is a sport that's evolving fast. I wish any fighter would get everything they want, everything they hope for, everything they deserve. And like if that's what fighters want, we do need like something after we get done fighting, like some type of pension and stuff like that. But like boxers been doing it for a while. Boxers they've been there, and boxers don't have a pension, right? Boxers don't have a boxing pension, and you know what I'm saying? And only the top boxers make good money. So if it ain't happening in boxing, I don't see it happening in MMA. So, you know what I'm saying? It's kind of like I wish the best for everybody and stuff like that, but this deal I just signed with Bellator and Viacom and with Spike TV and TNA, here's my pension right here, you know what I'm saying? So, you know what I'm saying? I made the right decision. I'm not going to wait around for some union that could never happen because from my common sense, watching from boxing, ain't happened for them. So I just went and made my own reality and joined the best. Did you just burp while I'm giving my interview, though? You drinking beers over there? You know, I just made my pension happen for myself, work for myself, so I don't have to worry about promoters that, you know what I'm saying, that is not with the business. You know, I want the best for a fighter. I say that because I'm a fighter, so I have to look out for other fighters and stuff like that, but right now I'm looking out for me, so last thing I'm worried about now is a fighter pension. This thing, I'm over that whole issue now. I'm happy as hell.
Yeah, it wasn't me that burped. I'm drinking green tea. I have a question for Bjorn also. Rampage was in made a lot of controversial videos which people have seen online. Do you have any rules about what he can or cannot do or say on some of those issues that have been raised before?
You a hater.
Hey, Eddie.
No, I'm not a hater. I'm a lover.
Hey, yeah. Look, Eddie. One of the things that makes us different is, and it's been a difference that we've stood behind since the first time I started this company, is that I'm a big fan of fighters being who they are, and I'm a big fan of fighters saying what they feel and what they think. And part of what makes this organization so unique, and part of what gives it the opportunity to build out these kind of partnerships, is that there are a lot of different personalities here. We've got hundreds of fighters under contract, and some of them are going to say things that some people find to be completely outrageous. And when I talk to Rampage, or when I talk to Mo, or when I talk to any number of other fighters who have got a personality and voice their opinion, I say the same thing to them. Be yourself. Say what you're going to say. Voice your opinion. I'm not trying to sit back as a czar or as a king that sits on a throne and tells people who they're going to talk to and what they're going to say and what line they're going to toe. It's just not the personality of this organization. And so we don't have those rules in place. There's common sense elements that everybody comes in and puts in play, and we hope that everybody does that. But the bottom line is people have got to be who they are. People have got to express their opinion. I mean, that's the essence of this company, is self-determination. And, nobody's chosen here to be a champion. Nobody's given an opportunity to be a champion on a plate. Guys earn it, and they earn it because they are who they are, and they express what they express. So it's just a different way of looking at things, and we're going to keep standing by that.
All right, thanks, and good luck to everybody, and congratulations on this deal. I'm looking forward to seeing Rampage and Bellator.
Okay, everybody, thank you for joining. If you have any further questions, feel free to hit me up, David Schwartz, or my colleagues Anthony Mizuko or Beth Gebhardt. Thanks so much.